this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. No, I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion.
God's not dead.
Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. And
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Good morning and welcome to the King's Report this Tuesday, June 13th, 2017. 8th year of Chungi, 5th month and 19th day by the head of the calendar. I'm your host, Hyungju Sean Moon, the second king of Chunilguk. Let's go first to our Timothy Elder for our AccuWeather forecast here.
Good morning. It's going to be another 90-degree day today. We had a high of 92 yesterday, and the forecast high today is also 92. But this afternoon, we're expecting, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to have a pretty big thunderstorm with a lot of rain and a strong wind, so we need to watch out for that. About a 60% chance, or better than even chance, of that happening this afternoon. That's going to happen when a cold front moves down from the north, and so that's going to drop the temperatures for tomorrow. And so tomorrow will be about 10 degrees cooler than today. And then the Thursday will be in the mid 70s, and then by Friday we'll be in the upper 60s for a high. But it's also going to be rainy, so about a 25-degree drop between today and Friday. So
Wow,
be careful with your
that's
immune
tremendous.
systems. Yeah,
Now, you went swimming
I did.
in the beautiful green
Yes.
soup pond.
In the green soup, yes.
In the green soup, that is the Chanilgung pond. Do we have images of that? Do we have pictures
My
of
wife posted a video on her Facebook. I don't know if people.
Oh,
have
she
seen
did. Let's
that
go to
yet.
her. Let's go to Nose Someone's picture and see the pictures of Timothy,
It's
the aging elder,
it's a short video.
doing some investigative reporting from the Chanilgung pond.
It was quite pleasant. It was not cold at all. It was much warmer than I expected, actually.
Now, you had goggles on.
I had a pair of goggles on.
Were you
swimming
able to
goggles.
see anything in there?
Just green.
Just green.
Yes.
You were not
I
able to
was,
see any of the fish.
I did not see any fish.
Any
And-
of the 40 fish that should be in there.
Well, it was interesting because it was very difficult for me to dive because my body just wouldn't go down. Later I realized it's like swimming in the Great Salt Lake, where the density of the water is
different.
is high,
Right.
and that increases the buoyancy of a person trying to swim. So I
That must be it. That must be the reason.
yeah, I actually could not pull myself all the way down to see what was on the very bottom. I got about my head, I think, was about 5 or 6 feet below the surface.
So it wasn't like swimming in a normal.
No, it was not.
Water.
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't actually took a whole dip swim in there.
But it was quite pleasant. I enjoyed it, and I felt very good. I did not come out looking like the green monster from the swamp, but I took a shower afterwards, of course, and it was a very good beginning to the day.
Well, at some point we're going to have to go in there. Maybe we have to add some gravel. We've done some research on the algae, what's called the algae bloom. The algae bloom. And that's essentially what's happening with the greenness of the pond. Okay, it's called an algae bloom, and it's basically a natural. It's very good. It's very healthy. Okay, if you have green water, that's great. If you have brown or white water, that's bad. They said that's very bad. That could be a sign of viruses and bacteria. But green water is extremely healthy, and it's just an algae bloom. What's interesting is that you could be seeing an algae bloom for 2 to 3 weeks to a month. And then you go out one day and boom, it's clear. It's like, whoa, what happened? What happens is that the algae bloom is died off, just the natural life cycle of algae. And it just says the natural life cycle of the algae has died off.
I see.
And then that just settles to the bottom and becomes like, a soil or whatever. A bio-fertility soil or whatever. And then like, you can see the fish. They said like, people will be shocked because like for a month you can't see your fish, and then all of a sudden you walk out one day and it's gone. It's like, whoa, what happened? What happened is the algae bloom has died off. Okay, that's what happened. So that is apparently what is to happen to the natural cycle. Now they did say we have to put some gravel in there, which I'm thinking we should do, because when the fish spawn and have babies, they will eat their babies. That's another example of why fish and animals are not humans.
Yes.
Okay, yes, they do eat their children, but that is not what God ordained for human beings, because we are the highest apex of His creation, and we should not be eating children. Okay. In any case, that is the beautiful update on. Oh my goodness, everybody's gonna love this. Look at my beautiful. This is my, of course, everybody knows my little ninja neck knife. But zoom in on this. Look at this beautiful artwork. Can you zoom in on that, Marianne? Get closer. Come in closer. There you go. There you go. A little closer. A little closer. Can you get closer on that? Yes. Everybody can see that? Those are some beautiful koi swimming on the ninja neck knife. This is, of course, the obake. This is the, they got squishy obake, which doesn't make any sense in Japanese.
It's not native
It's not
Japanese,
native
that's for
Japanese.
sure, yeah.
Okay, it should be chisai obake or something like that.
Yes.
And look at the beautiful, that is the tancho sanke with a kohaku. Okay, so I did some beautiful artwork on the obake, little neck knife, and the necktie knife, or whatever you want to call it. And now it is completely personalized. Maybe I will put some cherry blossoms on there just to spice it up and give it a little more natural look. But how cute is that? How cute is that, guys? Is that cute or what? Is that super cute? That looks very natural, doesn't it? Isn't that cute? That looks super cute. And on my other one, which is a little longer, you have it on my other pants system. I have a tancho, regular tancho, and there's a beautiful Showa sanke on there that I painted on there. So beautiful little koi fish friends that are appearing out of nowhere and showing up onto knives. There you go, folks. All right, now let's go to our Rima today, and it is in Timothy. And it's interesting. I just chose this Rima while Tim was saying something to me. I can't remember what he was saying, but he was saying something to me. And then the Rima was, "Oh, Timothy." It was, "Oh, Timothy, guard what was committed to your trust, avoiding the profane and idle babblings and contradictions of what is falsely called knowledge. By professing it, some have strayed concerning the faith." Wow. Okay, now that's not saying Timothy was falsely following these things, but people under Timothy were professing some of these things of false knowledge. Okay. Now, even on a Sunday, we looked into growing in the grace and knowledge of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and the returning Jesus, and how that is essential to understand our own life of faith connected with praise and worship. Okay? As our faith grows like a beautiful tree, and that's what our beautiful stepping stone out there has. It has a beautiful tree drawn on it. And our faith and knowledge grows. What's that beautiful scripture? And I take into captivity every thought against the knowledge of God. Against the knowledge of God. And bring under dominion, or bring under, what is that scripture? What's that scripture? Now bring into captivity every thought against the knowledge of God. Go ahead, guys, look that up. Bring into captivity every thought against the knowledge of God. That's in 2 Corinthians, is that 2 Corinthians? Anyways, look that up for me. That is a very important scripture for taking dominion of your mind, okay? And we as human beings have an important responsibility of free will and action to take dominion of our minds. You guys have that quote? Let's see it. And I take into captivity every thought against the knowledge of God. What's the verse after that? Oh, what's the verse right after that?
Looks like you're referring to 2 Corinthians 10:5.
Look at that. That's it right there. See, I knew it was 2 Corinthians.
Casting down imaginations and every
Yes. Casting
thing
down
that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God,
and take into
and
captivity
bringing into captivity every thought
every thought.
to the obedience of Christ.
Oh, to the obedience of Christ. And it said, casting down imaginations against the knowledge of God and bringing into captivity. Woo! What was that? Bring in captivity? Oh, into the obedience.
Obedience of Christ. Every thought. Bringing
Every
into
thought,
captivity
that's the
every
key.
thought. Every thought.
Bringing into captivity
Every thought.
every thought
To the
to
obedience
the
of Christ.
obedience of Christ. Wow. So the first part of that is cast down, throw away
Imaginations.
every imagination that exalteth itself.
And every high thing that exalts
and every high thing, that's it.
against the knowledge of God.
Cast down imaginations and every high thing
That exalteth itself.
that exalted itself against the
the
knowledge of God.
God.
And take into captivity
Every thought
every thought
to the
to
obedience
the obedience of Christ.
Christ.
Bam! Right there. That is a martial arts motto, warrior motto. It's all about controlling your mind. You know, controlling your mind is one of the most important aspects of the warrior culture. You know what I'm saying? It's absolutely critical. The samurai and the Musashi was the top. Go ahead, get a picture of Musashi. Top samurai, double sword fighter samurai. Unorthodox side fighter. He fought with katana and wakizashi in two hands. And he was the greatest one-on-one warrior. He would, in duels, use nature against his opponents. And he would also use emotions against his opponents, sometimes arriving 2 hours, 3 hours late at a duel, getting his opponent frustrated and angry at the etiquette that he was portraying, and with the emotional content of his enemy would cast him down and destroy him. Isn't that amazing? So, anyways, what he would call it is no mind, or mushin, no mind. Of course, they didn't have Christ, okay? I was watching a documentary tremendously created by the BBC, which I hate, but they actually had, which is a state-run, tax farming propaganda machine. But they did actually create a incredibly well-done documentary on Toga Ieyasu. Okay, that I saw yesterday. It's amazing. Go ahead, look at BBC documentary Toga, or just Shogun, who became the emperor or the shogun.
Not the emperor, but the shogun.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, the shogun,
Yes.
who was under the emperor but effectively the military dictator.
Well, yeah.
Shogun apparently means the commander-in-chief against the barbarians.
Yes. Yes, that's what it originally meant. Yes.
That's apparently what it means.
Yes.
And basically, the puppet was there. Is that it? That was such a good documentary. Oh my gosh, I didn't know of the details and the politics surrounding Toga Ieyasu and the story. And who knows? Maybe many of it's embellished, but I mean, the quality of. They went to Japan to film this, by the way. The sets, the costumes, the samurai outfits, they must have spent at least $5 to $10 million on that production. I could not believe how much money they spent on that thing. Everything is original, from the saya cotton cord wrap to the swords, to the buildings, to the access they had to the direct temples that the castles that he lived in. I don't know how they did it. But they definitely used a lot of taxpayer money to make that thing. Ridiculously made. It was so well made. High quality, and all these Japanese guys speaking English. It was actually quite, you could get used to it very quickly.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they're in completely authentic.
Well, did they have a British accent?
No, they didn't.
No?
have-
They with
they're
an American
Americans.
accent?
They're Americans. So I don't even know where they got this. I mean, it was so well done. I could not believe it. Look at that set. The set quality. I mean, they are literally in the temples. It is incredible. Authentic Japanese robes, swords, all that stuff. The point is, the warrior culture. It's all about controlling your mind, having dominion over your mind, because your mind creates so much fear. And a little hesitation, like Master Jojo always is telling the kids and stuff like that. It's your, you can't hesitate when you're fighting somebody. You can't hesitate. It's when you hesitate that one moment, like there's one incredible moment in the Ieyasu battle where he's battling his arch enemy. I can't remember his name, not Nobunaga, somebody else. His arch enemy, I
It
can't
must
remember.
be Hideyoshi, or the sons of Hideyoshi.
No, it's not with an M.
M.
I can't remember. Anyways, they have the names in that video. He's fighting his arch enemy, and then one guy, I guess Hideyoshi, is against him. At first, he's with him because he saved his life at a young age, and then he's against him, joining with the team that's trying to kill him. But then in the last battle at Sekigahara, which is the largest samurai battle in history,
Yes.
he's the I guess Hideyoshi is he
Well, Sekigahara was a Tokugawa versus Hideyoshi.
okay.
Yeah. So
But Hideyoshi was allying with another group, and apparently that other group, okay,
and actually Hideyoshi was dead by that time, but it was the sons, I think, or grandsons of Hideyoshi.
of Hideyoshi.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was two teams that were against Ieyasu, and one of them was on the hilltop. And when the bottom guys sent the flare up, the guys on the hilltop were supposed to come charging down and destroy Ieyasu. But at a young age, that leader on the hilltop was saved by Ieyasu. So he hesitated. And in that moment of hesitation, Ieyasu made a critical decision, which was to start shooting cannons up at the hilltop. And he shot cannons up at the hilltop, and that immediately sparked the attack of the guys on the hilltop. And what did they do? They came down and attacked their own people. So apparently, that's a guy, but apparently Ieyasu knew psychologically that the hesitation meant that this guy was still grateful to him. And by shooting the cannon, sparked him out of that pause and hesitation that he had, and forced him to make the decision on the spot to kill the allies that he allied with, and to basically fight with Ieyasu, allowing him to secure the battle of Sekigahara, and then become the shogun.
Yes.
So I can't remember the names. I can't remember, but that is so well made. Wow, the everything was authentic. It was really, really well made. I could not believe it, other than the fact that everybody's speaking English. But really interesting. In the Battle of Sekigahara, they also had rifles.
Yes, they did. Yeah, the Portuguese brought rifles in the 15th century. Yeah.
Yes, the Portuguese Jesuits brought in firearms. And what did the samurai do after the firearms came in? They adopted them.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so
But they were not used by samurai. They were used by the lowly,
the low-level guys.
low level guys. Yeah.
But eventually they wiped out and replaced the samurai, which is the reason why all the kids who are training with us, I always remind them, don't get caught in the spirit world of these different arts. You have to be realistic with defense, and of course firearms are the highest level technology. They are the greatest force multiplier in the current era. Who knows, in the future we may have laser beams or whatever. But at this current era, firearms are the absolute highest force multiplier, which then allows people who are weaker and or handicapped and or physically of lesser stature defend themselves with no problem whatsoever. Okay? So the point is Paul is warning and telling Timothy to guard the knowledge of God. and to bring into captivity, or so to speak, to challenge those who are embracing heresies. The knowledge of God allows us a deeper gratitude in our relationship with God. Isn't that amazing? The more you know, and I found this true with Father, the more I knew what Father did in order to save me from my inevitable punishment, which I deserve from God, stand condemned as a criminal before God, because sin is not only a debt, enmity, it is also a crime. And the more I knew and I realized what we call indemnity, or what the Bible will call justification, or the suffering of Christ. I guess that would be a little different. That justification would be the benefit which we receive from the suffering of Christ, taking on the punishment we deserve. Okay, but indemnity and the legal precedence for indemnity. We studied that this weekend, didn't we? Mm-hmm. The legal precedence for, number one, legal fictions, and number two, vicarious liability. We studied that this weekend, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
And how the aspect of legal fictions allow for the court to rule on things with using fictions which are known by everybody, but are utilized by the court in order to make a ruling. And the classic example was Martin versus Fabregas, 1774, where Fabregas sued the governor of the island of Minorca in the Mediterranean Sea. But in order to proceed with the hearings, the governor of Minorca himself, who was being sued by Fabregas, would have to sign off on it, and he didn't sign off on it. So Fabregas went to the court of pleas, common pleas in London, because Minorca was under the jurisdiction of the British rule. So he went to the London Court of Common Pleas and filed this suit there. And Lord Mansfield, the judge of the Court of Common Pleas in 1774, ruled on the case with the legal fiction that the island of Minorca was part of London, which was clearly not true, but was used in a court of law in order so that they could rule on the ruling and bring justice to this individual who was actually under British rule. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So this is a classic example, along with the 19th century examples of ships being persons. Okay, and this is where the court uses legal fictions in order to rule. Now, in terms of the divine court of God's justice, God allows the use of the legal fiction that Jesus is the sinner that is being condemned. When in fact we are the sinner, that is the criminal, being condemned. But God uses the legal fiction that the sinless Lamb of God, the sinless man, has the sin or has committed the crime. And thus such rules upon that legal fiction, bringing about a real world effect of justification and the crimes and the punishment. I'm sorry, you gotta be very nuanced. It's very, very nuanced. You have to, and the punishment of the crime being extricated from ourselves and being placed onto Jesus. You see that? And so the actual real world divine ruling is that we are free from the punishment we deserve. However, the punishment is not infused into the person of Christ, making him an actual sinner, but it is replicated. In other words, it is, what was the word? Not infused. Anyways, replicated in Christ thus allowing him to play the legal fiction and to receive the undue punishment that actually we deserve. Now, the more we reflect and understand of this, because people will poo-poo the case saying, "Oh, that's ridiculous. How can somebody be punished on behalf of you? That is absurd." You'll hear this from atheists all the time. All the time. But understanding jurisprudence, we can see that the use of not only vicarious liability but legal fictions is a real world juridical procedure that allows for actual rulings to be done in a court of law. So, for all those atheists who are ignorant of juridical proceedings, and that's mostly every one of them, the Christian has plenty, a plethora, does not have a paucity of examples. Okay, in showing how substitutionary atonement is not only real, but is also real in the real justice system under which atheists are protected. See what I'm saying? That's why, see, the people don't understand how tight and strong the Christian case is. It's so powerful. It's just that people don't have any knowledge and are ignorant. And atheists use that against them, simply using mockery and emotionalized language to guilt shame people who actually believe in Christ and know that he saved them. And even though they know they're still sinners, we're still sinners. See, that's the point. Our crimes were not infused into Christ, thus removing them from us. We're still sinners. We're still criminals before God. But the punishment has been taken away. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's why we can be grateful when we reflect and contemplate the salvation that we've received, okay? That's why we can be grateful. The more we contemplate it, the more... Oh, everybody, by the way, everybody will check out the Zen garden outside, which Zen means meditation garden, but there's a Christian context. Our contemplative Zen garden out there. You'll not only see Psalm 23, but look under that now. You'll finally see the beautiful thing we've been waiting for. It is a beautiful outdoor statue of Jesus on a boat fishing. Mm. And it says, "Be ye fishers of men." Mm. Oh, I love it. I love it. I was actually going to put that in the pond. Maybe put some cement blocks, hide it with some, sheet, whatever. Put some natural stones on them, and then put Jesus on the boat on top of that, so that the water level is barely hitting the boat, and it looks like actually the boat is floating in the water, and it looks like he's actually floating. How cool would that be?
That'd be great.
That'd look beautiful. But he's actually in the Zen garden. Okay, so that actually looks pretty good. I may change it if I make an island in the pond. Okay, but right now it looks beautiful. And he's actually holding a fishing net. Mm-hmm. By the way, which we have to get to catch those mini koi. All right, folks, we're discussing many, many deep things in this Hundo K morning Rima today. We thank God, and we thank you for joining us in this segment. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today. Carr Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Carr Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Carr Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Carr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today. Carr Arms.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name. At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this morning, Tuesday, June 13th, 2017. It is nice and toasty today. Maybe I shouldn't say nice. It's going to be 93 degrees, folks. It's going to be hot, 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 and humid. Let's go to Tim for our headline news. Tim.
Yes, and watch out for the thunderstorm this afternoon.
Oh, there's a thunderstorm coming in.
Yeah, so
Wow.
the Drudge Report, the top news is golden until the NBA finals yesterday.
Boo, boo, boo.
Anyway, so
Boo, boo, boo.
people
How
are
can they have that
interested
as a top news? That's ridiculous.
Well-
Talk about bread and circus. You know what I'm saying? I mean, sports is good. I mean, it's good to unlock opportunity and stuff like that. But to have that as the top news, oh, give me a break.
a lot of money goes back and forth with
No, that's true. That's true. It's like ridiculous. You know, we got all these people who are addicted to sports and video games, and they have no idea what's going on with these actual predators and demons who rule over them and make all these regulations to put them out of business and to destroy their families. But they have no idea because they're watching stupid sports and video games, and the girls are watching stupid dramas and Katy Perry. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. You gotta be awake in order to see the predators who are trying to destroy you and your family. Okay, go ahead, Dan.
Okay, the next one on the right is, on the left, I'm sorry, is Cosby waits for fate. Trial shocker defense rests after just 6 minutes. Paper lawyer practically gives up during closing argument. So this is the trial of Bill Cosby, and it's gone to the jury now. Tech firms have faced new legal liability as PM and Macron target extreme content. British polls secretly plotting soft Brexit. Soft Brexit means kind of Brexit light.
Brexit light.
Yeah, it's not a real Brexit. Cyber extortion gang hits again, striking ABC. Roseanne, reboot to take on Trump era. Moby releases a surprised new album amid apocalypse. Mattis, North Korea, most urgent threat to security. One step away from launching nuke that could hit America.
Wow.
Yeah.
Apparently they have an ICBM.
Yeah, but they still, this article is saying they still can't get a warhead to actually re-enter the atmosphere without burning up or something like that. But that's the final step that they need before they have before they can hit the U.S. Fubbing ruining relationships as couples check phones 150 times a day. Record $133,000 paid for 2 tickets at NBA Finals. That's the cost of a nice home in Cleveland. That's related to the NBA Finals last night. No let up for European migrant influx. And ISIS calls for Ramadan attacks in USA and Europe. You know, Breitbart's been running a total, and they came up with more than 1,000 people killed so far during Ramadan. But mostly in the Muslim majority countries, apparently ISIS wants more.
But it has nothing to do with Islam.
No.
Only 1,000 lives have been lost during the month of Ramadan, but has nothing to do with Islam. Go ahead, Tim.
Rolling Stone to pay $1.65 million to defamed UVA frat. 2 billion people are obese. Astronomer aliens in 10 years. Employers encouraged to use flex hours during summer of hell at Penn Station. There's problems with the New York transportation system. NYT stands by Trump assassination play. You know, this is the play of Julius Caesar that's being done in Central Park, where Trump gets assassinated.
They're crazy, and they just say, it's theater.
Yes.
Why can't we kill Trump?
Some financial backers have backed away from that. Others are not backing away. Theater refuses to buckle. Time Warner still funding. Review genuinely frightening. Apparently CNN had a very positive review of that play.
Surprise, surprise.
Israel approves Palestinian move to pressure Hamas with electricity cuts. A cash-strapped Houston sells off city streets. You want to buy a city street in Houston? A year of trans candidate, 20 running. Cartel killings traumatized resort town as heads found in cooler.
Oh my gosh.
A police headless body located after severed head found. Uber driver sentenced to 9 years in prison for rape. Cops, 5 female relatives busted for Waffle House beatdown. Want to earn more? Sleep more.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Shark sightings increase at California beaches. A deaf-blind cat reunited with owner after surviving months of extreme weather. And decision time at Supreme Court, religion, speech, immigration. I think the Supreme Court term ends end of June. They've got a lot of cases we're expecting them to decide before then.
Well, they've got to hurry up and go
With the Trump,
with Trump.
with the Trump travel ban, yeah.
Travel ban.
Yeah.
And Second Amendment.
Yes. We don't know if they're
Reciprocity.
going to decide the Trump travel ban, but they do seem to be in a hurry to do something about that. Mueller, the special counsel, stock staff with Dem donors. More Comey leaks. Judge Napolitano, Sessions in dangerous position, should not testify. He's actually scheduled to testify today in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Tech shares turn shady. Apple sauced. Stock market is, tech shares are down. And Dennis Rodman, this had to happen sometime, landing in North Korea.
Again?
Yes.
Oh my
I guess he's the, our ace in the hole. All else fails, send Dennis Rodman to North Korea. Sex at 94, Redstone faces ex-girlfriend's palimony demand. Cartel killings traumatize Cabo tourists as heads found in cooler. I think Dredge has the same article twice here. Update, Bachelor contestant claims assault in pool. Blames producers for not stopping. This is the bread part of the bread and circus, I guess. For stymied NYC commuters, ferries the next wave. A lot of transportation problems in New York City these days. So those are the Drudge headlines. Breitbart says, welcome to Venezuela, socialist haven on brink of total collapse. This is a story by a reporter who recently visited Venezuela.
Well, let's look at that. Let's
yeah,
look at
okay.
the article.
This is inside Venezuela. I have it here. My computer's bringing it up. Okay, Caracas, Venezuela. Even at Bogota Airport in Colombia, the closest major capital city of Venezuela, a look of curiosity comes over the faces of staff when you tell them you are heading to Caracas. Caracas being the capital of Venezuela. Entry visas into Venezuela remain fairly accessible, although journalists are not allowed without a special visa. Although I claimed I was there as a tourist, this seemed far-fetched, even to the likely pro-government immigration authorities. What is the real motive of your visit, the officer asked me. Seeing my girlfriend, I replied. She smiled. Welcome to Venezuela. As you travel from Simon Bolivar International Airport to the city center, the difference between Caracas and Bogota formerly one of the world's major drug battlegrounds, is stark. Armed police stand on almost every street corner. Every physical space is dedicated to promoting the success of the late Hugo Chavez socialist government and Nicolas Maduro's authoritarian regime. The opposition undermines official government propaganda with its own graffiti, effectively accusing the regime of destroying the country with the highest oil reserves in the world. The rise in anti-government messaging stands out compared to my visit last November. Pro-government propaganda shares the streets with graffiti denouncing the regime on nearly every block. And here's a photograph of some opposition graffiti. This is the new Bolivarian toilet paper, a reference to Maduro's proposed changes to the Venezuelan constitution rejected by the people in the vote last year. Maduro is depicted holding a pocket constitution. And the next photograph is graffiti that says, if hunger kills the people will take out the government. And a billboard calls for the release of opposition Leopoldo Lopez, who was imprisoned by the regime in 2014 for organizing a peaceful assembly against Maduro. Nearly every day, anti-government marches take place across Venezuela, nearly all of which attract violence. So far, as many as 84 protesters have been killed since daily protests began in late March, as police use water cannons, rubber bullets, and smoke bombs to control the situation. Protests have the feel of an out-of-control soccer crowd. There is a feeling of solidarity among people, most of whom are wearing Venezuelan flags. On the side of the street, salesmen sell what can only be described as protest merchandise, including Venezuelan flags, horns, and T-shirts. Below the shirts read from left to right, SOS Venezuela, whosoever tires will lose, resistance, don't surrender. These are all being sold by the side of streets during demonstrations. Closer to police and military barriers, the protests become more intense, with the menace of violence constantly present. Many of those protesting are boys and young men in their mid-teens. And the caption, "This is a fight for our families, for our future," a group of mass protesters tell me. "We will risk our lives every day for as long as it takes to bring down this dictatorship." A group of young protesters pump themselves as they prepare to face off with police. On a visit to the Universidad Central de Venezuela, the country's biggest university, something seemed not quite right. The university itself seems like any other, with apartment buildings scattered across the campus, as well as grandiose facilities such as sports stadiums and a stunning concert hall. Yet, despite it being a Wednesday, there are barely any students around. The situation is too serious right now for students to dedicate sufficient time to studying, English professor Liliana Cespedes tells me.
Collapsing.
Many prioritize attending anti-government marches or trying to earn money to support their families. During some of my classes, just a handful of students turn out. One of the most frustrating things about trying to understand Venezuela is the high level of security at places the regime would like to hide. As I enter a government-run supermarket, security guards check my pockets to see what I'm carrying. They find my camera. No photos here, they say. A similar routine takes place on the way out.
At a supermarket.
I also tried my luck at Venezuelan State Hospital, although this time armed guards asked me to put my camera away. Nearly every public place in Caracas is guarded by police, keeping a watchful eye over the situation. Most are very meagerly paid, but still officially remain supportive of the government. So sitting in a hospital waiting room, looks like cement benches. Armed guards soon asked me to put away my camera. Failing to comply would likely mean facing arrest. Amid the crisis, some Venezuelans have accused others of not doing enough to fight the Maduro regime. The only way I see out of the current regime, is a military coup, my taxi driver Nelson Alvarez tells me. Some people have accused me of indifference towards the current political situation, but I have a family to look after. No matter how many or how violent the opposition protests, the key to bringing down the government are the military. This reminds me a lot of South Korea before the coup of Park Chung-hee, during the demonstrations that brought down East Syngman Rhee. Everything about Venezuela suggests this is a nation on the brink of collapse. Whether it is the ongoing violence, the extreme poverty, or the enormous piles of garbage in the street, nothing is working as it should be. In January, inflation reached over 800%, while some analysts predicting it could reach 1,500% by the end of the year. Even at one of the city's most exclusive hotels, breakfast offerings remain scarce and electricity and internet connections regularly cut out. Thousands of notes are now required to buy anything of value. However, the government recently introduced higher denominations of the local currency.
Oh my gosh, look at those streets.
Many streets are covered in landfill.
It's a landfill out
Landfill meaning garbage, I think. It's
there. Look at those streets.
a nice word for garbage. People can be regularly seen searching through garbage for scraps. I'm hungry, the graffiti says. While some still solely blame the current crisis on the collapse in the oil prices in 2012, a vast majority of Venezuelans believe the country needs a serious economic reform after 17 years of hardcore socialism, egged on by left-wing elites around the world.
Around the world.
Egged on by left-wing elites around the world, including the United States. Many in leadership appear hesitant to accuse the socialist system itself, and not the people running it, of being the problem.
Of course.
Yes. Many within the opposition's leadership structure are members of the Socialist International. Popular Will, the party led by Leopoldo Lopez before the arrest, belongs to the SI. So the opposition is also a socialist. Huh?
There you go.
Lopez's colleagues often find it easier to lay blame on Maduro's feet and call for elections rather than demand a free capitalist society rebuilt from the ground up. Yet the students and the street protesters who have put their lives on pause to fight Maduro seem to understand that the institutional rot goes way beyond Maduro. As one student put it to me, Chavez succeeded in creating an equal society by making everyone poor. They figured it out. They figured it out.
Hey, let's replace cancer with cancer. That is the lunacy of the left and the fake two-party
Socialism
duopoly.
makes everyone poor. Yeah,
and that's exactly what it is. And it's designed to. It's designed to make everyone poor.
What? But they still have an elite rich class in
We
in
know that
Venezuela,
the elites funded both the ideas and the studies of Marx and other socialists to have a sociological system by which they can indoctrinate people into adopting basically what is a feudalistic society. Talking about and emboldening their resentment against of disparity and just natural processes. And making them jealous, creating a society of jealousy. And by creating a jealousy, of course, promising them egalitarianism. Of course, that egalitarianism is designed to make them poor so that the ruling class can do whatever they want. It's ridiculous. It's total political Satanism. Total political. And the fact that the right side, of course, that they are fighting against the left, well, they're part of the Socialist International as well. Hey, let's replace this cancer with AIDS. That'll do the job. We'll be right back after this short break. Everybody stay with us on the King's Report.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Tuesday, June 13th, 2017. I am your host, the second king of Chenuguk, Hyungjin Sean Moon, and we were just talking the other break. What would hell really be? It would really be living next to Maduro, Hillary Clinton, Chavez, and Obama, and all these other super Al Gore, the Rothschild, Soros, these type of demons, living with these demons forever that is literally hell. That's worse than a burning lake of fire. That is literally worse. Living with the demonic psychopaths of the world, of history. I mean, seeing their movements every day is so mind numbing. It's so painful. Because I get a headache every morning. Every morning, my day starts with a headache looking at these fools. Just before we get into that, I want to show everybody this beautiful Biotop natural swimming pools and ponds with King Kombe Aquacare, whatever that is. But anyways, they have a beautiful little montage for pools that have turned into now beautiful biospheres of health, wealth, and biodiversity for the ecosystem. Let's check that out.
I never really wanted a swimming pool. I wanted something that sort of blended and have all the wildlife in it as well. You know, within a year, we had newts that just came into it, and we've got dragonfly larvae, lots of dragonflies in the summer, and the swallows all dipping in and out in the evening. But it's a completely different feel to being in a swimming pool. I used to swim with the children about once a week in chlorinated pools, but I found I couldn't swim more than once a week because otherwise my skin just couldn't take the chlorine. And this is quite different in the summer.
Which is
We try and
poisonous.
swim every day.
Look at those lilies, how beautiful
It's
those
just
lilies
given us
are.
all somewhere to go and sit by to look at, because it's as beautiful to look at as it is to be in.
It's
I don't know.
gorgeous,
It
dear,
is
it's
really
gorgeous.
beautiful, actually. We're thrilled with it.
Wow, look at that. Look at that video quality. They're very well, that graphically is beautiful, very well done.
Generally, as a family, we wanted a classical pool in the sense of clear water. And I think we've achieved that, blending in with the surroundings, and particular.
Well, that van doesn't blend it so well.
Blue greys, and with the dark.
That must be their
liner,
changing room or something.
the clear water and the slate, it takes on this sort of almost inky blackness, which I think is beautiful.
Oh, those European men with their little boxer,
It was
you know,
disgusting. A
boxer
deep
brief
pit
swimwear.
with a lot of green fluid in.
Hey, that looks like
It's not a
doesn't
house
look
with
like
a
it.
pool, it's a house with a garden and a big natural living area that you can also swim in.
That's a very nice idea. Maybe we can do that at Chunigong Pond too. Put in some woodwork in there that would hold soil, and then you can plant in those beautiful, see all those hedges of cattail? And that,
I don't think there's been one.
you know, when you went swimming in there,
I don't like that.
just the waves alone knocked over our cattail.
Oh, really?
Amazing.
No, there's no problem, it's not, they're strong. But if we had basically some woodwork that held in soil, proper soil, we could plant tons of cattail there, and it would just naturally just grow.
It's a lake-like experience, but with crystal clear water.
And you see what happens when you
makes it
transform
more
a
enjoyable.
pool
I think
into a
particularly if
natural
you're on your
ecosystem.
own and it's all very quiet.
No
and
chemicals on your
peaceful.
skin.
It's sort of less so when perhaps.
Wow, look at them, look at
children
that, they
are home
really
and
made it
everyone's
into
a bit more rowdy, but.
Look how
first
clear
thing
their
on a
water, how
summer
do they get the
morning,
water so clear? I
it's
guess
very
we're just gonna
quiet.
have to wait.
It's
We're just
lovely.
gonna have to wait to see the water clear up. No, they're putting something in there. They're putting something in there. It must be some kind of product they're trying to sell. But anyways, the video quality is amazing. But they're keeping it clear like that, and there's no algae growth, which is not normal. You should have tons of
Natural
algae
pool
growth.
is basically like wild swimming in your own garden. It's just incredible.
Wild
You have this
swimming, yes, that's
sense
what it
of
is.
connection with the plants, with the wildlife, the pool itself. a lot of the plants that are found in the pool, such as the irises, the lythrum, the marginals, and the reeds, can also be planted in the borders around.
You just,
Oh, the borders. The borders, my dear. The borders. Oh, how terrible. Oh, dear, my dear. Oh, we had just a technical glitch that just occurred. Anyways, the point is, look how beautiful that is. Isn't that wonderful to be able to transform a man-made chlorinated chemical acid bath, which is very, very shocking to the actual landscape, and then just let it naturally naturalize, stabilize. It's amazing because I was looking in there for mosquitoes. There's no mosquito larvae in there at all. None. It's not that the carp are feeding on them. They just cannot survive in there. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, it is.
There's no mosquito larvae in there. Now, there's all sorts of other insects and other stuff that are floating in there, swimming around there. But there's no mosquito larvae out there, which is fantastic. Everybody was telling me, okay, that I would literally be in a swarm of mosquitoes every day. There are no mosquitoes out there.
there are no mosquitoes.
You know where there's mosquitoes? In my little water basin, near the other lantern over there. That I found mosquito basin. I just empty that out. But there are no mosquitoes in the living pool, in the living pond, which is an actual place where you can go wild swimming, because now there's an actual ecosystem that is developing, an actual wildlife is living in there. We have 40 fish in there, which of course are invisible to us now. But hopefully as the water clarifies and continues to stabilize, we will be able to see the beautiful fish. And there's the young people out there. There's Tessa and Sunny out there taking pictures of the sunrise, and of course looking at the medicinal garden. Let's take a short break. We're going to be right back after this, getting back into more news on the King's Report. Stay with us, everybody.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring, he's roaring like a lion, roaring like a lion. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside,
are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this morning, Tuesday, June 13th, 2017. I'm your host, Helen Deshaun Moon, the second king of Chunigu. Let's go now to Tim, the agent elder, for a very important report. Tim.
Islamic State calls for Ramadan attacks in U.S. and Europe.
There you go.
Yeah, they released
There
a
you go.
statement at the beginning of Ramadan, which was about 19 days ago now. Now they're telling people, you're not doing enough. Anyway, Beirut, the Islamic State group, is calling on supporters to carry out attacks in the United States and Europe during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan that began 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 1,000 people is not enough.
Especially because most of those 1,000 people are in Muslim majority countries. I think they're saying.
There you go. But it's nothing to do with Islam.
I think they're saying we need to kill more Christians. It seems to be. In an audio tape circulated online Monday, spokesman Abu al-Hassan al-Mahajer praised last week's attacks in Iran's capital, saying the country is weaker than a spider's web, and calling for more assaults. Al-Muhajir also called for attacks in Russia and Australia, saying heaven is reached under the shadow of swords. ISIS has called for attacks during Ramadan in the past. This year it has claimed responsibility for attacks in Britain, Egypt, Iran, and the Philippines that killed dozens of people and wounded hundreds. I've been telling people Wednesday and Thursdays to stay away from crowds. Don't let ISIS run up their body count. Don't be a part of their body count. All right, let's go to this Alan Dershowitz article. Famed attorney and retired Harvard Law School professor Alan Dershowitz told Breitbart News a New York Times story published on Saturday that he has been hired to help the defense in the Michigan female genital mutilation case is misleading and, quote, another example of fake news by New York Times, unquote. So now we have it from the mouth of Alan Dershowitz that New York Times is fake news. Anyway, on Saturday, the Times reported, quote, recently the Dawat-e-Hadiyah, an organization overseeing smaller Shiite Muslim sects, hired two well-known lawyers, Alan Dershowitz and Mayor Morgenroth, to help the defense, the Associated Press reported. But Dershowitz says, misleading. I've written a letter to the Times correcting the story, he told Breitbart News. Quote, another example of fake news. So Breitbart News is getting an interview with Dershowitz. That just shows how mainstream Breitbart News has become. Quote, another example of fake news by the New York Times. I hope they'll print my letter, but you never know, Dershowitz told Breitbart News in a phone interview from Vienna.
New York Times is dead.
So here's the story, Dershowitz says. So this is the story, straight from Dershowitz. This group rejects female genital mutilation. I agreed to consult with them and to work toward an acceptance of merely a symbolic pinprick. Not even of the clitoris, but just of the clitoral hood, which is the equivalent of the foreskin, Dershowitz said of his consulting agreement with Dawat al-Hadiyah.
No, it's not the equivalent of the foreskin.
Governing the body
it's the equivalent of the frenulum. It's not the equivalent of the foreskin. The removal of the clitoris completely removes any sexual pleasure a woman can enjoy during sexual intercourse with her husband. It completely destroys it. It's like cutting off the top of the penis for the man and the frenulum, which is the sensitive area. It's it's not just the foreskin, which is a non-sensitive area, or not compared to the frenulum. So that is completely false. Generally mutilating the woman in that manner, which is common throughout the Muslim world, is meant to destroy her ability to actually have enjoyment during sexual intercourse. That's what it's meant to do.
Yes.
It's meant to destroy their ability because they're slaves and they shouldn't enjoy it. They should just enjoy being raped. So it is absolutely, that is not, of course, what God ordered for women or men. My goodness. Go ahead.
So anyway, Dershowitz is saying the idea really is the functional equivalent of what Jews do. If a non-Jewish
No,
kid,
it's not.
And when he says non-Jewish kid, he's referring to boys. Anyway, if a non-Jewish kid were circumcised at birth, as many are, but didn't have a bris, didn't have a religious circumcision, and he wants to convert to Judaism, or his parents want to convert him to Judaism, he has a little symbolic pinprick, and it draws a tiny bit of blood, and that takes the place of circumcision, and that's what I proposed. Of course, he's talking about boys. This is talking about girls. Quite different. Worldwide, there are about 1 million members of the Dawoodi Bohra sect, which is based in Mumbai, India. Mafadal Saifuddin is the current spiritual leader. The sect has at least 6 mosques in the United States, located in Michigan, Houston, Chicago, New Jersey.
It's
Washington,
not
D.C.
only the Dawoodi Bohra sect. They're trying to make it as just some kind of fringe movement. It's not a fringe movement. We showed the article on the video post by David Wood, who looked at all the top Muslim jurisprudence scholars in the world. Not one of them sees female genital mutilation as wrong or non-Quranic, non-Muslim. Muhammad himself, in the passages that he showed very clearly, and he showed that where there is a debate, there's not a debate of whether or not female genital mutilation in Islam is prohibited. It's not prohibited. The debate is how much you cut off. You understand what I'm saying? But the idea that this is about some type of fringe sect, Dawoodi Bohra, with only about 1 million members, they're hiding the 1.5 billion Muslims who their legal scholars and their jurisprudence experts, of which they're under, because it's like the Sanhedrin. They have like what in Judaism is the Sanhedrin. And that legal scholarship are the ones that make the rulings on the Sharia law or of course on Muslim jurisprudence. So it is absolutely ridiculous that they're trying to position this in this fake way, saying that it's only a Dawoodi Bohra sect. Give me a break. Go ahead.
Oh boy, this is a tough story for me. So worldwide, so the sect has, while it is not known exactly how many adherents of the sect currently reside in the United States, at least 3 of them have run afoul of the law recently in Michigan. Dr. Fakhruddin Attar was arrested in the Detroit suburb of Livonia, Michigan, Friday, accused, along with his wife, Farida Attar, of involvement in the same female genital mutilation conspiracy that led to the landmark arrest last week of Dr. Jamuna Nagarwala, Breitbart News reported in April. All 3 defendants are part of the small Indian Muslim community known as the Dawoodi Bohra.
Small Indian Muslim community. No. Here, guys, pull up that video. David Wood, female genital mutilation. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. It's not a small minority. Go ahead.
In the wake of the case, an organization that
That's like
oversees-
saying circumcision in Judaism is a small minority. What? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
So Dawoodi Bohra say that they actually do not do female genital mutilation, I think. And Dershowitz is saying that he is not helping in the defense of the individuals charged with committing the federal crime of female genital mutilation in Michigan. He says, I'm consulting, the Times mischaracterized my role. I'm not representing any of the people who are charged. I'm just consulting with the group in an effort to try to create a worldwide alternative to female genital mutilation, Dershowitz says. So Dershowitz's claim is that he's trying to do it so that they can change it so that it just becomes a pinprick. If we can get everybody in the world who today practices female genital mutilation, this group does not. Every group in the world who practices it, if we can get them all to substitute this symbolic pinprick, which is the equivalent, for example, of a 15-year-old kid having your ear pierced, which is legal, it causes just about the same amount of harm to have your ears pierced as to have a pinprick on the labial hood. That to me would be a great accomplishment. So he is portraying himself as a good guy who's trying to reform Islam.
Well, you'll never get it done.
I doubt very much that he will. A Jew trying to reform Islam, that's going to work well, I'm sure. Yeah. It would also help resolve the conflict between religious freedom and the interests of the state in preventing child harm. So that's my role in the case as a consultant, to try and move the world away from female genital mutilation toward a much more benign, sterilized pinprick. My goal is to help create a model all over the world for groups that do practice to be able to comply with the law. What I want to do is to get the U.S. government to agree that a sterilized, benign, symbolic pinprick would not violate the law. I think that if we can do that, we would have accomplished a great deal. And Breitbart News asked Professor Dershowitz if this is just a false flag to create the impression there is a widespread use of the symbolic pinprick as an alternative to female genital mutilation, when in fact the traditional barbaric practice of female genital mutilation will continue as before.
Of course it will. Give me a break.
Yeah, that's what Breitbart is trying to
Mr.
tell
Xavier Dershowitz won't do crap for it. Give me a break.
This group wants to obey the law and has been trying to obey the law. They will do everything in their power to obey. This group never practiced clitoral cutting or anything of the kind, so I'm very comfortable representing this group and trying to get the law to change, or really to get the law to recognize our position, which is the law doesn't apply to the pinpricking. If we can get the U.S. government to accept that, we think we're going to improve both these situations facing young girls today and the freedom of the religion of the group. So for me, this presents the possibility of a win-win. This is not going to work out. A win for the First Amendment, a win for young girls who will no longer be exposed to anything beyond the symbolic pinprick. I want to emphasize the no different than the ear piercing. There's no medical good that comes from that, but there's also no medical harm. If you can do it for cosmetic purposes, you can certainly be able to do it for religious purposes. Dershowitz told Breitbart News he first became interested in the issue of female genital mutilation when he got a call from this group. I had read a few things about it. I had read works by Richard Schrader, who is a liberal anthropologist and who has been pushing very hard for this pinprick approach. I was influenced by his advocacy as well. I met with him and met with the group and came away believing this would be the best overall solution, he said. Dershowitz also said he has no idea how prevalent the pinprick procedure he advocates as an alternative to female genital mutilation is in those countries where the female genital mutilation is a documented health problem for women. I would never, ever, under any circumstances, defend the practice of female genital mutilation, and I want to state that on the record. I would never, ever, under any circumstances, defend or support the practice of female genital mutilation. I'm not doing that here. New York Times was not the only media outlet to get Dershowitz's consulting relationship with Dawit al-Hadia wrong. Famed constitutional law scholar and attorney Alan Dershowitz has joined the defense team in the nation's first female genital mutilation case in federal court, the Detroit Free Press reported on June 1. Let me check this. See what else we come up with about this pinprick approach. On ritual nick, like some people call it. Let's see here, someone's calling for an open debate about this. The other aspect of the idea that acceptance of the West could push acceptance in places where it really matters, such as the Horn of Africa. Secondly, one can look at the ritual nick from a cultural perspective with consideration for the human rights of religious and cultural expression. On the con side, there are again two major arguments against this procedure. From a social health perspective, there is an argument that by normalizing the symbolic procedure, one is in turn normalizing the more horrific procedures. As such, it is possible that by pushing the pinprick replacement procedure, it will be harder to bring down overall rates. Experience seems to suggest that it is easier to modify a practice into something healthier than it is to simply eliminate it, and so I will let the reader judge whether this effect would appear to dominate or be dominated by the convenient converse effect above. Ultimately, we will need a statistical analysis to compare rate changes in countries that do and do not push the procedure to really lock in how powerful this amplifying effect is. The other argument against it belittles it because it is tacitly condoning and thus might encourage, a la the other point, much of what female circumcision symbolizes, namely to the extent that female circumcision symbolizes things like sexual slavery, female submission to males, and the repression of female sexuality, then the pinprick symbolizes all of these things as well, and so is bad. That makes sense to me. I certainly agree. My goal would not be to have a society with rampant female pinprick circumcision. However, symbolizing sexual repression is nonetheless better than a procedure which actually represses the sexuality of females. It is the lesser of two evils and is a useful transition to some future time when the entire procedure and everything it symbolizes is
Well, you never will
eradicated.
have that future time because in Islam,
Yeah.
they believe that they will conquer the world.
Yes.
That the whole world will become Islamic and Muslim. And that is the great time of the Lord of the Second Advent.
It would seem to me that this would make it easier for Islam to take over a society such as Western Europe or the United States, because women say, well, I don't want my daughters to have this, but they say, oh no, don't worry, it's just a pinprick. So it'd make it easier for Islam
It's
to
just a pinprick.
spread
Yes.
in the U.S.
That's a
and
great
Western
point.
Europe. Yeah.
It's giving them a shield to not debate the issue and this barbaric demonic practice and hiding it under the shadow and guise of a pinprick. And saying, no, all of us here, we're moderate and we all practice pinprick.
Yes. But it still results in the same slavery and repression of female sexuality.
All right, let's take a short break here and we'll be back with the King's Report after our heads recover from this incredible headache. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution. So
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. This Tuesday, June 13th, 2017. I'm your host, Hyung Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. And look at the beautiful, here we go, it's the plaque right here. It's the King's Report in beautiful wooden, what is that, walnut wood? I don't know what it is. But this was done by George Marshall's dad. And we will be putting that up, hopefully behind. It's done, I guess, on computer because you can see the digital cutouts. I guess it's a laser cutter, but very beautiful, and it's done in wood. This is all wood, folks. So very elegant and very beautiful in wood. And this will be going up behind there somewhere in the next break, hopefully. But a very beautiful piece there. Now getting back to our top stories. 2 million Americans dropped out of Obamacare since signing up in January. 2 million Americans withdrew from Obamacare insurance plans since signing up on a federal exchange in January. On Monday, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services published 2 reports detailing that nearly 2 million Americans had not paid their insurance premiums to maintain health insurance coverage because they said it was free. The effectuated enrollment program explains 12.2 million Americans selected an Obamacare plan at the end of the open enrollment period. However, only 10.3 million decided to pay the required premiums to maintain health insurance coverage as of March 15th. This is exactly, I mean, we're dealing with this too. Because our daughter, for example, has like a toothache, and then they are sending her to a jawbone specialist. They say they're not gonna deal with her toothache until she goes to a jawbone specialist. And then we have to get some certification from that bozo to get dentist work. This is ridiculous. This is how they rob you, folks. They call it free. They call it the socialist health care. And then what they do, they give the runaround because the doctors are now all on Obamacare. They're all on this program, and they don't want to be. They're now being held liable if they actually operate on a procedure which the Obamacare system is telling them, hey, no, we can't make enough money on just simple dental work. Send her to the bone jaw doctor. Send her to this and that stupid doctor. Connect them to other doctors, which will then continue to rob them. So by the time they get back here, then we'll do the dent work. Give me a break. It's like, also the Shinjun, while he's wrestling, okay? The kid was doing handstands, he's running around in his hands. They say he broke his arm. He had a little fracture. But he was fine. He was running around, he's playing around, wrestling around with his brothers. Yet they wouldn't allow him wrestle. Until he went to a, arm specialist or something like that. And he had to get a certified thing, x-rays, just ridiculous. It cost thousands of dollars. We're still paying that off. They sent us to all these stupid specialists to get these stupid approvals, and then finally he's able to wrestle. But it's thousands of dollars that they stole. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's a complete sham. Doctors are not even able to treat their patients anymore because now their liability has gone skyrocketed up if they don't follow the procedure of the stupid Obamacare system, which is meant to send you in runarounds and send you to 15 other specialists every time you have some little issue, so they can make $1,000 a year per specialist. And then, of course, prescribing to you all these stupid pharmacological drugs, which are in the same box as the insurance companies that are running this stupid system. What a sham. And of course, it's going to become like Germany, where Christian Seeberger was reporting to us just last week that he had a severe injury to his knee, emergency room level. He called the emergency room. He said, he explained to them his knee condition. They said, yes, that would be considered an emergency. And he said, oh, so can I come by now? It's an emergency, so can I come to the emergency room, which should be able to serve clients 24/7? And they said, oh, yes, you can come, but just come next Friday. Because, and be prepared to wait, because when you come in your scheduled appointment at the emergency room, see, the whole point of an emergency room is that you don't have a scheduled visit. When you have an emergency, like getting slashed in the throat, a shot in the face, or getting a severe traumatic, life-threatening car accident, you need emergency care now. Not 10 days later on Friday, 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. And be sure to wait 3, 4, 5 hours. That defeats the purpose of an emergency room. This is what is so absurd. Yes, people will be willing to pay more if you have an emergency room that can treat them now. That's why when doctors were not on Obamacare, they can make over $1 million Many of them would make over $1 million for their salary because they have to be on call 24/7. Now, under Obamacare, your doctor, you spend all the 10 years plus getting into debt, doing all those medical examinations, all that kind of thing, medical school, etc. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And now you're only making a measly $100K, and you're trying to run this business. You can't live like a doctor used to live 10 years ago. So Obamacare is meant to make doctors poor. It's meant to take the doctors and make them state employees. It's meant to provide worse health care. And guess what? Kukchang made the essential point. When government takes over healthcare, there's no more innovation. There's no more innovation. There's no more competition between doctors trying to provide better services at lower prices. No more of that. So there's no more medical innovation. It is the death of medical innovation. So if you want to live in a constantly stultified, medical, non-innovative world, we've seen and enjoyed the benefits of advancing medicine. Now, when the government takes it over, there's no more advancement. It stops. The medical technology we have in the 1950s is what we'll have in 2050. In 2000 and 3050. Of course, by then it'll have imploded. It'll be collapsed before then. But the point is, it doesn't advance technology and or benefit to humankind when it's stultified by the archangel and the state. I don't know how many times I have to shout about this every freaking day. It's like a constant, it's like trying to push up a waterfall, which is constantly pouring down, relentlessly beating down on you. It's ridiculous. People do not understand reality. This is the reason why, of course, the Chinese Constitution, the Kingdom of God, is not based on the whims of people's emotions and feelings. It's based on the law of God and of actual reality and nature. And natural rights given to us by God, so that idiot, stupid new generations don't screw it up for everybody. You won't have to know of all these intricacies of how the archangel over time has colluded and destroyed humanity. You could be totally ignorant to that, and you'll still live under protection under the Chinese Constitution in the Kingdom of Heaven. Of course, it would be better if you knew about it. And of course, there will be people who educate, people on it. But even though you knew nothing, you can't screw it up for everybody. And even though you're willfully trying to screw it up for everybody, and or you're indoctrinated by stupid Marxist professors, you won't be able to screw it up, because as soon as you try to screw it up and try to get violent, you'll be dead. The Peace Police, Peace Militia will come after you as soon as you go violent. You will be caught and destroyed. You see that? So there is a direct consequence. There's a direct punishment for trying to screw it up for everybody else. And that is the Kingdom of God, isn't it? That really is. For all these demons and psychopaths who are trying to screw it up for everybody else, when they're destroyed, which of course creates a safe haven for everybody else, that is where the lamb and the lions can live together. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back after this short break with more on the King's Report. Stay with us.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group, with a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Tuesday, June 13, 2017. I'm your host, Sean Moon, second king of China. Getting back to the political Satanists and their movement. Democratic Representative Jeffries, quote, "Every racist in America voted for Donald Trump." You're the racist, you little pimp. You little stupid archangel trying to lecture us and race bait people, trying to keep your black people, black colleagues under state control. You don't want black people to be free. You are an operative of the state to destroy black people. You are an operative of the state to keep them imprisoned. You are an operative of their state to keep them poor. What these pathetic politicians trying to lecture and race bait every little thing, that's all they got. That's all they have. That's all they have. All they have is race baiting. Thank God for the kingdom of God and the Chinese Constitution. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, God. Thank you. Because these demons, these types of demons, will be monitored all the time. They want to put the cameras on you. They want to put the cameras surveillance on you. They want to be able to monitor where you are. They want to be able to see you on every street. They want to be able to blackmail you at any moment, at any time, making so many regulations and laws that you're breaking 300 of them every single day. The normal American is now breaking what? How many laws per day? There's a statistic on that. What is it, like 20? What is it, like 20 some laws every day? The normal American is actually breaking a whole bunch of laws every day. Did you know that?
Yes.
That's how many stupid, unbelievable, ridiculous regulations they have on you, because anytime they want to get rid of you, they can just trump up those charges on you, no pun intended, to get you out of their political world.
3 federal criminal laws every day.
There it is. Every day,
3 felonies
everybody
a day.
is doing 3 felonies a day. Now, when a nation degrades to that type of ridiculousness, the law, there's a point where the law no longer is really the law. And the law is no longer doing just things. And it becomes a weaponized arm of the federalized archangel to use against you in a court of law. Now, think about it. You commit 3 federal felonies every day. 3 on average. That means any one of you, if they hate you, if you are creating trouble for them, they can pick you up off the street with a stupid warrant for your arrest because you're breaking 3 federal crimes every day. Anybody. And you've committed no crime, and you know you committed no crime against them. But because you've become a political enemy, the political elite can get you because you're breaking 3 federal crimes a day. Do you understand how that works? Can you understand why that's dangerous for you, you dumb idiot? Oh my God, people are so stupid. It's ridiculous. That's how they keep you a slave. That's how they pretend they're following the law and keeping jurisprudence intact while they're using it against you as a weaponized blackmail system. Do you understand that? These politicians, of course, they're not only breaking 3 federal crimes a day, they're breaking 300 a day. But no, they don't get punished for it because they're in the elite group. You see that? In Chuniguk, that's going to be the opposite. They're not going to be able to surveil me or you. They're not going to be able to surveil the humanity and citizens. They're not going to be able to have cameras on your phones and have legal loopholes where they can watch you from your phone, take pictures of you, and now the screens itself are becoming the camera. So you can't just cover up your little thing with a little duct tape. The whole dang screen is a thing. Any technology that the free market develops, that free individuals and with creativity given to them by God develop, is weaponized against them by the very people who are claiming to protect them. This is the common denominator of the archangel. The common thread, the common connection, the common unification, the common denominator. That's why in Chanukuk, they will be the ones that are surveilled. They will be the ones. Oh, Representative Jeffries. Oh, let's see what that idiot is doing today. I want to type in Jeffries at gov.org. And I should be able to see him, what he's doing. I should be able to see who he's talking to, who he's colluding with. I should be able to see all his meetings, private conversations. The conversation that he's having in his office. His phone conversation. We should have access to it all. No, but they want access to your stuff. But you can't see what they're doing. I wonder who's funding this guy. I wonder what kind of money he's receiving. We know Paul Ryan received money from George Soros, and we know the Democrats all receive money from George. I wonder if Democratic Representative Jeffries receiving money from Black Lives Matter or MoveOn.org or George Soros or any one of his million little NGO companies, the fake companies that he's put up as legal shields for the sabotage and saboteurism that he perpetrates on innocent nations, imploding them from the outs, from within. Classic hegemony, classic feudalism, classic economic slavery, destabilization, in order to bring in order, which they see as control. No. Order is when they're under control. Order is when George Soros and the predators are in prison and the pedophiles are executed. That's order. I was talking to a chief yesterday, the other day, on Sunday. Who was saying in Native American law, if you're a pedophile, you're killed, you're executed. That's their natural law. What did he say? If you rape somebody, you're killed, you're executed. That's Native American law. Oh, you're against that? Then you must be a racist and a bigot and a xenophobe because you hate Native American people. You white supremacist! Tell that to your liberal friends. And all their protection of Bill Clinton, all these pedophiles under Native American law, they would be executed! Oh, you don't have a problem if you want to execute Christians, but you got a problem if you want to execute Bill Clinton and pedophiles for the rapes and the crimes they committed. You pathetic little ringworms! You are Staphylococcus, you are AIDS virus, you are cancer! You are nothing! You are disease! And thank God in Chanukuk, that disease is destroyed. Give me a break, Democratic Representative Jeffries saying every racist in America voted for Donald Trump. We're so sick of these kind of pathetic pimps, okay? We're sick of it. This is pathetic. This is why God's kingdom needs to come. So these type of political prostitutes don't rule over us and lecture us that we are racist because we want to make poor people prosperous. Or tell us we're racist because we want to give every man, woman, and child the opportunity to live a tremendous life. Or we're racist because we want to give everybody the ability to have free speech and freedom of religion and freedom to bear arms. Yeah, we're the racist one, you piece of trash! You are the trash! Democratic, Republican operative, military operative of the Rothschilds, Soroses, and the Bilderberg Group. Military operative sitting in D.C., military operative, Jeffries, to enslave the public and to make us into the system of feudalism. He is a military operative. Do you understand? Hates freedom, hates sovereignty, hates you, hates your family, hates guns, hates your guns, hates everything that gives you your freedom and sovereignty and your ability to make decisions for yourself. They want you to believe that they own you like a slave and your children. They own them. And they must indoctrinate them in the worship of the state. And they dare say that the normal person who wants freedom and sovereignty for their family and wants to just have the stupid archangel out of their hair so they can run a business and so they can go to church on Sunday and raise their children and go out to dinner once in a while. These are the enemies of humanity. And yes, those enemies come in many shades, many colors. They're the same hoes, same prostitutes for the demons, for the devils of the world that actually rule it. They are military operatives, commanders, sergeants, colonels, all vying for more and more power and more sycophantic groveling towards the Rothschilds, Soros, and Bilderberg groups. Pathetic. And the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, satanic kingdom. And the Chinese communists, satanic totalitarians. The kingdom of God will come, and all these demons will be vanquished. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. As my head is about to explode from all this insanity. Ah, Lord, it's so painful to see the archangel moving every day. Because it's it's relentless.
Mm-hmm.
It's unending. Let's go to Tim now for an important report on North Korea and the soft Brexit. Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, we'll do the North Korea first. Dennis Rodman arrived in North Korea today. He's,
Dennis Rodman.
well, he and Kim Jong-un may be a match made in heaven. Who knows?
He praises Kim Jong-un, so he's got it all. Yeah, I want it all too.
He says he's just trying to open a door.
Idiot.
He on a mission he thinks may get support. Rodman talked to reporters briefly before his flight from Beijing to Pyongyang. Asked if he had spoken to Trump about his trip, he said, well, I'm pretty sure he's pretty much happy with the fact that I'm over here trying to accomplish something that we both need. And President Trump has praised Rodman's previous visits to North Korea. Maybe Dennis is a lot better than what we have, Trump had told Fox and Friends after one of Rodman's trips in March 2013. Rodman also appeared as a contestant on the NBC show Celebrity Apprentice that year. Dennis is not a stupid guy, Trump said. He's smart in many ways. He's very streetwise. The 56-year-old Rodman
I'm sure he is.
went to North Korea in 2014. On that trip, Rodman sang happy birthday to dictator Kim Jong-un, who Rodman referred to as his best friend, BFF. The trip also featured Rodman and a squad of former NBA stars taking part in a pickup game as part of what Rodman called basketball diplomacy. So anyway, this time his entourage includes Joseph Terwilliger, a professor who has accompanied Rodman on previous trips to North Korea. But Rodman said his issue, the issue of several Americans currently detained by North Korea is not my purpose right now. And a senior Trump administration official told Fox News on Monday that Rodman was traveling as a private citizen. We wish him well, but we have issued travel warnings to Americans, suggested that they not travel to North Korea for their own safety, and so forth. So Rodman is in North Korea today. We'll see what happens there. In Britain, looks like some people are trying to undermine the whole idea of Brexit. Theresa May is very weak right now. Many people are not expecting her to remain as prime minister for more than a few months, and there actually may be a
Isn't it funny that right after she meets with the Queen, she decides to make a lunatic decision to go for the election, totally diminishing her power, totally destroying her ability to lead the Brexit, of course, which she, by the way, was opposed to from the very beginning.
Right.
Isn't it funny how all of a sudden she now becomes the stumbling block for Brexit, and not the what she was promising? She's the hardliner.
Well, we'll see. You know, she was 20
Great
points ahead.
timing, Theresa May. Great timing. Losing all those seats to the leftist lunatics. Great job. Listening to your stupid satanic queen.
Now the kingmaker is the Democratic Union Party, which is a very conservative party in Northern Ireland. So I don't know.
I would not be surprised. Okay, so on my own public, not my own private opinion. I have no evidence for it. I would not be surprised if she met with the Queen. The Queen said, "Honey, Brexit. We have to stop this insanity. You know what to do, honey. Yes, dear. Okay, go. I wouldn't be surprised." Go ahead.
Let's get to the article. Senior cabinet ministers of the government, that is the Tory government, the Conservative government, are engaged in secret talks with Labour members of Parliament, MPs, to secure cross-party backing for a soft Brexit as it has emerged. We'll find out soon what a soft Brexit means.
Nigel Farage is even on in public saying the reality for Brexit is now diminishing because they're starting to play the politics. The talk is there. We want the Brexit. It's all moving in the opposite direction. Even Nigel Farage is out saying it's diminishing and looks bad.
Yeah. Some of the most senior members of Theresa May's team have been discussing how to force the Prime Minister to make concessions on immigration, the customs union, and the single market. There have also been discussions of a cross-party Brexit commission to agree common ground between the parties and to ensure an orderly withdrawal from the EU. Labour is expected to use the talks as leverage to demand the end to the public sector pay freeze among a series
They
of
want a
concessions.
renegotiated exit, which means not an exit.
Right.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Theresa May is an enemy operative of those who voted for Brexit. She was against it from the beginning. She's still against it now. The Queen was against it from the beginning. She's still against it now. And they all of a sudden made a horrible decision to destroy the chances for Brexit. What a coincidence! Go ahead.
Mrs. May is understood to have been aware of the plot for several days, but so far has done nothing to stop it. And that's as far as I can go in that article without paying money. So we'll stop there.
Yes, without paying money.
I
We
want
don't
to
want to pay money to see that stupid article. We know what they're doing, these political operatives.
go to another article, how Islam is moving into small towns across America.
Man, goodness.
A number of state governments, some under Republican control, are doing their best to accommodate Muslims waging civilization jihad against America, according to UnderstandingTheThreat.com,
So funny.
an organization that has authoritatively monitored the Islamic movement and infiltrated mosques throughout the United States. Additionally, the hard left Marxists, including nearly all of the local and national media, are collaborators in those efforts, UTT said. In a June 5 report titled Islam's Conquest of America, One Town at a Time, UTT cited 4 communities: Falls Church, Virginia, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Hamtramck, Michigan, and Patterson, New Jersey. Falls Church is home to the Muslim Brotherhood Hamas-linked Dar al-Hijra Islamic Center. Al-Qaeda's notorious Anwar al-Awlaki was the imam of that center beginning in January 2001 and serving for over a year there, the UTT report said. Al-Awlaki spoke with and preached to the 3 9/11 hijackers at the center located inside the Beltway in northern Virginia near Washington, D.C. The Muslim
Everybody knows why they're bringing them into these Christian areas. Because the countryside is dominated by evangelical Christianity. And they know they're going to create a culture clash. And they know they're going to get problems. And as they get problems, their solution is going to be always federal control, more police, more federalized local governance, taking over the state control, local control for federalized control, because we don't want to be racist now. We don't want to be Islamophobic. We want to abide by federal code, even though that's against the Constitution. And even though the 10th Amendment gives the rights to states and not the federal government. See, this is why, of course, they want to bring them in. We're not stupid. We know what they're doing. Go ahead, Tim.
So the community around Dar al-Hijra has been taken over by Sharia adherent Muslims, the report said. Law enforcement calls the 2 twin apartment buildings in the area Taliban Towers. And the number of jihadis in the area of northern Virginia, only minutes from the nation's capital, is significant. Meanwhile, in Minnesota, it is estimated that over 125,000 Somalis live in Minnesota, most of them in the Minneapolis area. This community has sent at least 22 Islamic jihadi fighters overseas to fight for the terrorist group Al-Shabaab, although some estimate the number is closer to 4 dozen, UTT noted. The Cedar Riverside neighborhood is also called Little Mogadishu, inside a 10-mile radius of Minneapolis city center. There are at least 29 Islamic centers, mosques, and an unknown number of home mosques. The Twin Cities area is home to Hamas organizations, including CAIR, that's the Council of American Islamic Relations, and the Islamic associations. The Muslim Brotherhoods, Muslim student associations are on at least 21 Minnesota college and university campuses. There are MSAs in at least 11 Minnesota high schools, recruiting jihadis and turning public opinion towards the Palestinian cause away from Israel.
Give me a break.
Muslims now make up more than 30% of the population in Patterson, New Jersey, which has been a melting pot of Irish, Germans, Dutch, Italians, East Europeans, and others, said UTT report said. This number, possibly over 40,000, makes Patterson, New Jersey, the town with one of the highest concentrations of Muslims in the United States. Many Turks and Syrians are a part of the Muslim community, but the majority are Palestinians, Hamas. Hamtramck, the small suburb of Detroit, is the first town in America to have a majority Muslim city council, UTT noted. The former Polish Catholic town has been overrun by Sharia adherent Muslims who have already achieved accommodations for Sharia in the community. UTT listed what the 4 communities also have in common. Muslims concentrated their efforts in these communities, built up their numbers, and then asked for accommodations. Once their numbers were significant enough, they made demands of local officials to accommodate Sharia. That ties in with David Wood's 3 stages of jihadi, doesn't it?
There it is.
Islamic leaders, read Muslim Brotherhood et al., purchased numerous plots of land in these communities, often with funds from Saudi Arabia, and began building mosques and Islamic centers, Islamic schools, etc. Once the mosques were built, land immediately around the mosque was purchased for Muslims, and over time, Muslims began occupying the land around the mosque up to a radius of approximately 3 miles. Islamic organizations, such as Muslim Brotherhood, began outreaching to local Christian and Jewish leaders, as well as law enforcement and elected officials, with positive results. The majority of pastors and rabbis stand with the jihadis and publicly defend them. Because the Muslim Brotherhood's interfaith outreach efforts work, many elected officials believe they have to meet with jihadi leaders to show how progressive and open-minded they are, and law enforcement remains unaware of the grave threat growing like a cancer in their communities. Collaborators in the media wrote or write glowing stories about how wonderful the jihadi Muslims are and defend them right up to and in some cases after they kill Americans, e.g. New York Times defending al-Awlaki after the U.S. government killed him because he was the al-Qaeda leader in Yemen. Elected officials defend and even promote the jihadis. Example, Mayor Jones in Patterson raised the Palestinian flag over City Hall and declared Palestinian American Day.
These people are sick. They're so sick.
UTT said that cities would stand up against this onslaught.
That's a nation that generally mutilates women, enslaves people, assassinates, murders Christians. I mean, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Cities would stand up against this onslaught, at least under the previous administration, that is Barack Obama, find themselves fighting a lawsuit from the Department of Justice and U.S. Muslim Brotherhood groups. In Bernard Township, New Jersey, the town council had said no to Islamic leaders' request to build an Islamic center for a number of reasons. The DOJ and the Muslim Brotherhood's Islamic Center for Basking Ridge sued and forced the city to allow the mosque to be built. That was under Obama. Wow.
Unbelievable. Let's go to Islam 101. Is Islam a religion of peace? With David Wood and Robert Spencer. Let's take a look at this new video from them.
Everyone says Islam is a religion of peace, all authorities in the Western world, and yet all over the world we see Muslims committing violence and justifying it by reference to Islamic texts. How are we to understand this? In the first place, we have to distinguish between Islam and Muslims. There's a great deal of confusion on this point. People think that because they know a Muslim who's a nice guy, that Islam must teach peace. In fact, the teachings of any particular religion are one thing, and the way each individual puts those teachings into practice is quite another. There's a spectrum of belief, knowledge, and fervor among the adherents of all religions. Some are very devout and knowledgeable about their religion's teachings. Others are devout, but less knowledgeable. Others are knowledgeable, but not devout, and so on. So one cannot assume that just because a particular Muslim is a good person, that Islam does not teach warfare against and subjugation of unbelievers. Unfortunately, it does. Islamic jihadis are very clear about this, always grounding their actions in the Quran, the holy book of Islam, and the example of Muhammad, the prophet of Islam. Abdullah Azan, the co-founder of Al-Qaeda, explained that Muhammad, he said, was a master of the mujahideen, the warriors of jihad, and a model for fortunate, inexperienced people. The total number of military excursions which he accompanied was 27. He himself fought in 9 of these, and then Azan named some of the major battles in Islamic history: Badr, Uhud, Al-Maraisi, the Trench, Qurayza, Khaybar, the conquest of Mecca, Hunayn, and Taif. He said Muhammad was on all of these expeditions. And he said this means that the Messenger of Allah used to go out on military expeditions or send out an army at least every 2 months. And the Egyptian Islamic scholar Nasser Hamid Abu Zaid said, if we follow the rules of interpretation developed from the classical science of Quranic interpretation, it is not possible to condemn terrorism in religious terms. It remains completely true to the classical rules in its evolution of sanctity for its own justification. This is where the secret, he said, of its theological strength lies. One finds the same thing when one turns to the authoritative sources in Sunni Islam, the schools of Sunni jurisprudence, or madhab, the Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanafi, and Hanbali. These are not brick-and-mortar schools, but schools of thought, schools of law, with each prevailing in various regions of the Islamic world and most Muslims adhering to one or the other. A manual of Islamic law of the Shafi'i school was certified in 1991 by the clerics at Al-Azhar University, one of the leading authorities in the Islamic world, and where Barack Obama spoke in 2009. They certified this book as a reliable guide to Sunni orthodoxy, and Sunnis are 85 to 90% of Muslims worldwide. This manual of Islamic law stipulates about jihad that the caliph makes war upon Jews, Christians, and Zoroastrians until they become Muslim or pay the non-Muslim poll tax. It adds a comment by Sheikh Nuh Ali Salman, a Jordanian expert on Islamic jurisprudence. The caliph wages this war only provided that he has first invited Jews, Christians, and Zoroastrians to enter Islam in faith and practice. And if they will not, then invited them to enter the social order of Islam by paying the non-Muslim poll tax, jizya, which is specified in the Quran and is a sign of the subjugation of the non-believers, while remaining in their ancestral religion. Without a caliphate, only defensive jihad is allowed. The goal of defensive jihad, however, is not peaceful coexistence with non-Muslims as equals. This same manual of Islamic law specifies that the warfare against non-Muslims must continue until the final descent of Jesus. That's Jesus the Muslim prophet, not Jesus the Savior. After that, nothing but Islam will be accepted from them, for taking the poll tax is only effective until Jesus' descent. That is, until Jesus the Muslim prophet returns, the Christians may live subjugated under the rule of Islamic law, but when he returns, it's convert to Islam or die. That warfare against unbelievers is being pursued all over the world today.
There you go. There is one of the episodes of the Basics of Islam with Robert Spencer. Of course, Acts 17 Apologetics is David Wood's YouTube page. But of course, he allies with such people as Robert Spencer and other experts on the apologetic issues surrounding Islam. We'll take a short break now, and we'll be right back. Stay with us on the King's Report. Stay with us.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Somehow, and love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution. Somehow, now I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a
are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. I am your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk, and as you see behind me, the beautiful George Kais's beautiful piece on the Peace Police, Peace Militia logo and the King's Report sign. Do I see the King's Report there? Yes, you see it right there. Beautiful, beautiful. And of course, the slogan for the Peace Police, Peace Militia will be in defense of the kingdom eternal. How's that?
Excellent.
In defense of the kingdom eternal. That's like the slogan. That's like Semper Fi is how you pronounce it, right? Semper Fi
That's how
is
the
for the
Marines pronounce
Marines.
it, yes.
Means always faithful. But for Peace Police, Peace Militia, in defense of the kingdom eternal. So that has a both play on words. Always, always, or always, semper, always, always, or eternally vigilant in defense of the kingdom. But at the same time, it also means in defense of the eternal kingdom of God. That makes sense?
Yes.
Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Let's go now to another video by David Wood and a wonderful, I guess, testimony. I haven't seen this yet, but let's go to this wonderful testimonial video.
And we've just recorded a lot of shows about arguments for Islam. And I was with you on a show years ago that we recorded over Skype, but I've never seen your testimony. And I know that you're a former Muslim, that you grew up in Saudi Arabia, but beyond that, I don't really know much. So I figure this would be a great time to learn. So why don't you start by telling us what your life was like in Saudi Arabia growing up?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, brother. It's always a privilege and an honor to serve the Lord with you. I am always thankful for the material you produce all the time, for the sake of my people to find the truth. And thank you so much for your hard labor. You're absolutely right. I am a former Muslim from Saudi. That's where I was born and raised. And as you know, brother, Saudi Arabia really has a special place when it comes to Islam, simply because it's the birthplace of Islam. And I just happened to be born, basically, and raised in a town near Mecca. So there was this bond not only to Islam and its origin, but also my close proximity to Mecca. And as you know, Islam is a religion of works. Therefore, more good deeds you do, more chances you have in order for you to earn your way to heaven. And being near Mecca, that means that I can always go and do the rituals and the things that are required of me, simply even praying in Mecca most of the time for that purpose. As I was basically growing up, I began to study more and more Islam at a deeper level. Now, not all Muslims, by the way, you're going to meet, even from Saudi, are that religious. I want to be fair. Not all of them are that devout. But the tendency for people in Saudi to be devout, if you wish, is much higher than you find it in other areas outside of Saudi Arabia, simply because Islam is really emphasized in there, not only at the school level, not only at the college level, but also it is emphasized by the way of life in there and the Sharia law application and so many aspects basically of life in there. So this is how I was raised basically, and that was the environment I grew up in.
And obviously something changed at some point. So, and you're here. So I know, even without you telling me, that a couple of things changed. So what changed first? Did you leave Saudi Arabia first, or did you start doubting Islam while in Saudi Arabia?
Well, actually, right before I left to come to basically to the West for my graduate education, I finished my college back in Saudi with the engineering degree. But the thing is this, almost before that happened, during my high school years, I was fascinated with the idea of jihad to the point that I was even seriously considering going to Afghanistan when the Soviets invaded Afghanistan. And it was people like Osama bin Laden who left, and many of the young Saudi men left also as well. And therefore, I was fascinated with this idea of not just fighting, but dying as a martyr for all these rewards that I was reading about when it comes to the rewards for martyrdom. But by the grace of God, I was basically prevented from doing so, and I finished my college. And then I came to the West, and as you know, Muslims are raised to believe that all of the Western Hemisphere basically is Christian, maybe with the exception to few that might be Jews, but technically speaking, you are born into a religion called Christianity. And this religion happened to be the one right before Islam. Therefore, it's canceled, it's obsolete. But at the same time, Christians who live in the West, they're immoral. Why? Because their Bible has been corrupted, and evidenced by the fact that they have nightclubs, have bars, and you watch, movies, and you assume that this is the culture at large as a result of this. So I came to the West with that mindset, but it's almost like within the first month, believe it or not, I just struggled with the use of idioms, and that led me into basically getting connected through some of the campus ministries with a family that was a born-again believer. That was the first time I've ever heard of such a thing when we were having this spiritual discussions. And it was through that process that my mind began to shift into basically a willingness and also just a desire to learn more about this Christianity that I knew nothing about. Initially, my intent was to convert people to Islam. I didn't really want to learn about it for the sake of leaving Islam, but that's how the process began.
Wait, so you got involved with Christians because you were trying to work on your English speaking abilities?
My English, exactly.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So, how did you come to doubt Islam? Because most Christians that you would ever run into generally know very little about Islam. So I doubt they would have been presenting criticisms of Islam. So how did you come to doubt Islam?
That is true. It's after a few months of my encounter with this family, I ended up changing my major. I moved from that place where I was to another place. And I severed my relationship with the family, never bothered to reconnect with them. Graduated, got a job offer, and it was years later I met more people, and specifically another family, and it was when I began to engage them in discussions about my faith, Islam. In other words, I was inviting them to accept Islam. That's when they began to push back gently, asking me for proof when I said the Bible is corrupt. Asking me for proof when I made claims that Jesus wasn't crucified, and at the same time sharing back with me what does the Bible say, what other evidence there are available, and asking me also to reason about certain facts and things of that nature. In other words, they were really countering my arguments with ways to force me to examine and think about the claims that I'm making. And in this case, I began to discover slowly and gradually that I'm making really big claims that I cannot back up. And it was through this process, that was a long process, it took almost 12 years for it, because I was definitely an apologetic at heart. I had this zeal for Islam, and of course I wanted to prove that I was right. But of course, by God's grace, through this pushback, I began to slowly to doubt Islam until I got to a point where I definitely discovered that either I'm living a big lie or I know nothing about Islam, at least the way I learned it. And that was the turning point, basically.
And so what happened after that?
I got invited to go to a church a couple of times, and I refused to do so, for obvious reasons. Muslims, of course, don't like to go to churches anyway. And one of it is they're afraid that they'll be seen by others. Sometimes they think God is going to punish them, and so on and so forth. I spent about a year and a half, give or take, basically in, I call it spiritual vacation. I wasn't fasting, I wasn't praying, I wasn't doing anything. So I felt guilty, Remember, I'm religious most of my life. You don't do any of these rituals, all of a sudden you feel like there's something missing here. You're wired to be religious, but at the same time, I felt also a heavy burden, almost like lifted off my shoulder. So I was really in this middle stage. Do I really go back to being religious, or why am I feeling relieved at least? And it was during that phase when I agreed finally to go to that church. And when I attended the church, I began to hear the gospel being preached from the Gospel of John, from the pulpit. And all of a sudden, the things that I heard from that very first family 12 years earlier, and the other family, and others in between, somehow began to make more sense. The story almost began to make sense, perfect sense actually, all of that, of course, led me to begin to question myself at a deeper level. Obviously, the Holy Spirit was convicting me already, and as a result of this, really, I felt like at some point, I'm going to have to make a decision. And then September 11 happened at the same time. And obviously, being a devout Muslim, I understood perfectly why these hijackers did what they did, of course. It's their ticket to heaven. That's the way they were thinking about it. At some point in my life, I wanted to die as a martyr. But the devastation of that act was being laid out before my eyes. And I began to see what I myself could have done as well years earlier to others, innocent people, innocent lives. And I began to really ask myself, why would God allow for things like this to happen for the purpose of few just to go to heaven, if he is really a God that I thought to be the God of peace, and my religion is a religion of peace? And to top that, that very weekend, I attended the same church, and they preached from the Gospel of Matthew about loving your enemies and praying for those who persecuted you. And that was a very powerful passage, because I reminded myself that if the God of the Bible is the God of the Quran, then something drastically happened to this God, that he changed his mind about loving your enemies 600 years before the coming of Muhammad, and all of a sudden now it is a command to hate and fight them.
We have to back up a second because I'm a little confused, because on the one hand, you seem like you understand that Islam promotes jihad and martyrdom. But on the other hand, you are saying that Islam is a religion of peace. So is it something like the jihad is right because you're ultimately striving for peace and the good of the Islamic community, or something? Like, I can imagine if you're the fighting in Afghanistan, that these are Russian invaders, and so you're martyring yourself to stop the invaders or something like that.
No, that's a very good question. Before I reach that point of confusion, of course, certainly I would look at Islam as a religion of peace from a different perspective. Religion of peace in terms of spreading Islam, and that will be the only way to enforce peace. But then when I began to doubt Islam, I was touched now by what I've seen, and that really was the struggle that I faced. Reminding myself now, I used to think to do things like this, but at the same time, also the opposite side of that belief is that also it's a religion of peace. So how can this be peace? Because now I'm witnessing it by myself. And of course, that was a major event, as you know, globally. And that was a turning point, of course, in terms of people understanding about Islam and its teaching in relationship to jihad. And I've already been hearing the gospel, and obviously the Holy Spirit was doing his work already in convicting me. So it's the softness inside of me that allowed me to, for the first time, to begin to examine things that in the past I accepted, but now it looked totally different to me.
And so what was the sort of last straw?
The last straw was, certainly it was very important for me to hear that passage being preached. I continued to come to that church for probably another 2 months or so, but a couple of times during those services, they would call people to the altar, of course, and if they want to accept Christ. I almost felt one time tempted to do this. I didn't know what was forcing me to think that way, but I kept denying my internal, basically, desires to follow along. But it came to a point where I really wasn't able at all to keep resisting. In fact, it was coupled also by seeing some sort of a dream. Typically people, especially Muslim people, are afraid of the idea of death for two reasons. Death means there is a possibility of punishment in the grave. But most importantly, you don't know really if you're going to end up making it to heaven or not. I mean, you still want to keep doing your good deeds. And the dream that I was getting actually was strange, that I died, and I'm standing before the throne of God, and he's asking me one question: why have you rejected my son? And that was a question I didn't know the answer to, yet at the same time I was already attending the church, and I'm hearing about the son already, and I've seen people accepting the son. And when I've seen this dream a couple of times happening almost within the span of these 2 months, it really terrified me. It's almost like I began to think about death. What's going to happen now if I truly die? What is basically the right path? Is it Islam or is it what I'm hearing? And it's just by the grace of God that I finally came to my senses and I realized that I must make that decision to follow Christ. And it wasn't an easy decision, of course, but there we are.
And so, what happened afterwards?
Of course, there is always a cost that comes with this. I lost a lot of things almost immediately. And I have to admit, the first thing that came to my mind is that, did I make the wrong decision? And am I being punished by Allah as a result of this? And it goes to show, by the way, the importance of having the right people surround you and disciplers. Because of that, the people around me who are believers began to explain to me that this is spiritual warfare. God is not punishing you for coming to Him, but God could be allowing these things to happen to you because maybe you have issues in the heart that He's working on. Maybe you have pride. Maybe He's preparing you for something big, a ministry or something of that sort. But don't look at it as if He's punishing you. He cannot punish you for coming to Him. They began to show in passages that heaven is rejoicing that actually, as a sinner, you accepted basically Christ. So through this process, I began to it started to make sense to me that indeed, yes, there are things inside of me that began to change, things that I used to desire. Somehow I began to distance myself from material and stuff that I had affinity for, and I began to learn to be humble. And years later, of course, I look back and I am thankful now for the process that the Lord put me through.
Now, you could have just spent the rest of your life working your job, living quietly, and eventually died like that. But you've decided to focus on ministry and reaching Muslims. Why'd you take things in that direction?
Well, certainly it's God's calling, obviously. It wasn't just me trying to do something on my own. But here's the interesting thing. I remember the first maybe a few weeks after I became a believer, I was asking God, why did you make me a Muslim all of these years, denying me to know you since day one? Of course, little that I knew that the Lord actually had a ministry for me, and all of these years are not a waste. Because of my upbringing as a Muslim from Saudi Arabia, learning the Quran, learning tafsir, learning all the traditions that basically the Prophet taught and his biography, and almost learning it from the top-notch Islamist, gave me that authority when the day came for me to step into ministry. And of course, I looked at it as, since I know the truth now, I owe it to my people to let them know about this truth. And it's amazing how God began to surround me by godly men and women who began to serve me, began to disciple me, began to work on me. Our dear brother Sam Shamoun was one of them. And watching sometimes your videos with him and others that were other parts of my discipleship process. And of course, the Lord brought me into contacts with others where media door opened up for me, and I began to see the significance, really, of utilizing media to the glory of God if we use it wisely. Because I cannot multiply myself, you cannot multiply yourself, but the message could be spread to millions upon millions of Muslims. And that's really how I began to get involved with ministry that grew from just one-on-one to teaching at Sunday schools to teaching seminars, and all of a sudden get involved with satellite TV, and now my own, of course, website, videos, radio show, and the likes, basically.
One last question. You mentioned a situation where you saw the 9/11 attacks and decided to rethink things more carefully. I know there are lots of Muslims in the world today who are in that situation because they've seen a lot more than just 9/11. They're seeing what people are doing in the name of Allah around the world. Even right now during Ramadan, they're seeing the constant bombings, the suicide attacks, and so on. And many of them still believe in Islam, but this can become a time of reflection for them, time to think to themselves, is this religion true? Is all of this based on Islam, and is Islam true? And for those Muslims who might be ready to think about this for themselves for the first time, instead of just believing what's been passed down to them, what would you say to them?
What I would say is this. They are certainly fortunate today because in my days we didn't have Google, we didn't have internet, at least as powerful as we have today. Things have developed ever since. Of course, Google came into the equation later in my search, of course. They have access to many, basically, resources online at the privacy of their own home and places. I encourage them to go and examine all evidence available related not only just to Christ and the Bible, but also examine the falsehood, I should say, and the teachings of Islam in contrast to the teaching of the Bible and Christ, and ask themselves this question: what they are witnessing firsthand right now, whether at least themselves, their immediate family, friends, or maybe just what they're watching globally taking place, unfolding right before our eyes, does that make sense? That a religion that everyone think is a religion of peace would cause such chaos globally, and since September 11, this chaos continues to intensify to where we are today. Almost every region in the world has been impacted by it. Can truly the God who revealed Islam to be the religion of peace be the same God who is also causing all of this chaos? You see, you cannot pick and choose what the Quran teaches or what the Prophet teaches, because ISIS can justify their actions just like people who wants to claim that Islam is a religion of peace can justify their actions. So one side has to be right and one side has to be wrong. And the fact that you have contradictions from within, this should cause them to examine Islam at a deeper level, utilizing all of these resources that are available for them, which I did not have in my days.
Well, thank you, brother. And to everyone out there who would like to learn more, you can look at the links in the description box. That'll take
that
you
is
to
an interview with Al
Fadi's
Fadi
YouTube channel
from
many more
Saudi
videos by him
Arabia.
into, more details
And what's amazing about
his,
David Wood's ministry and people like him, like Sam Saudi and all these, is that they are bringing the gospel of Christ to so many Muslims who really don't know anything about their own religion and have just listened to the descriptions given to them by their Wahhabi-backed and Saudi Arabian-trained imams. Now, this is they used to do a show. They used to do a show, I believe this is an example of one, where they would come out and they would actually debate. They would allow for callers to call in and then ask questions about Islam and or try to defend Islam. And it was called Jesus versus Muhammad. I think these are clips from that. This is Robert Spencer on the show. Let's go to another one. Top 10 more reasons Muhammad is not a prophet. This is by Sama Sahoud. Looks like he's the main presenter here. But we'll come back after the short break and get to 10 more reasons why Muhammad is not a prophet, according to the apologists David Wood and Sam Sahoud. Show you that right after this break. We'll be right back.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group, with a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. This Tuesday, June 13, 2017. I'm your host, Sean Moon, the second king of Chaniguk. And the King's Report in defense of the kingdom eternal. As you can see, the beautiful plaque behind us this morning as we put it up during the break. Thank you, Greg, for that. And this is an example of the type of show they used to run. David Wood and Sam Sahud, Jesus or Muhammad. This was a ministry that was particularly for Muslims and to outreach to Muslims to come to accept the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and not the fake Jesus that appears in the Quran. But this is an example of that. Let's take a look at that.
A prophet. What do you think of those, Sam? I thought, my opinion, I'm obviously very biased, but I thought there were great reasons to reject Muhammad. So
That's Sam Sahud.
yeah.
And so what we're doing is we're sharing with Muslims and with non-Muslims. We don't just reject Muhammad because we, never knew anything about him and we decided to reject him because we don't, we want to believe in something else. We reject Muhammad based on careful study of his life and teachings. And when you do that, when you examine seriously his life and teachings, you find out there's no way this guy is a prophet. So we went through our top 10 reasons, but we didn't want to give people the impression that those were our only reasons. And so here, tonight, we're going through 10 more reasons Muhammad is not a prophet. So by the end of tonight, if you watch the last episode, you will have 20 reasons to reject Muhammad as a prophet. So let's go ahead and jump right into our number 10 reason for tonight, and we're going to go ahead and count them down again in order of, how they sort of stand with us. We could see people putting one ahead of the other, but, as we were arranging them, we tried to put them in increasing order. In other words, as we continue through the program, the more seriously we take it, the later it will be in the program. Number 10 of tonight's top 10 reasons is the torture of a man named Kanana. Muhammad tortured a man for money. Muhammad tortured a man for money. This is historical, right, Sam? We have a man named Kanana who knew where some money was hidden, and he refused to tell Muhammad after Muslims had won the battle against his town. Here's what happens. When Muhammad asked him about the rest, he refused to produce it. So they knew this man knew where the money was hidden, and he wouldn't tell them where the rest of the money was hidden. When Muhammad asked him about the rest, he refused to produce it. So the apostle gave orders to Al-Zubair bin al-Awam, torture him until you extract what he has. So he kindled a fire with flint and steel on his chest until he was nearly dead. Then the apostle delivered him to Muhammad bin Maslama, and he struck off his head in revenge for his brother Mahmud, who had been killed in the battle. So think about this. Muhammad wants to know where some money is hidden, and Muhammad doesn't have any international rules for correct conduct in the aftermath of war. And so what does he have his followers do? Light a fire on this man's chest to burn him and torture him until he tells where the money is hidden. So,
all right, so that is a clip from a long, over 1 hour video, or close to 1 hour video, on those kind of things. But they used to do a show called Jesus Muhammad. This is where, of course, you can look into Islam and why the gospel of Jesus Christ is so radically different from what the Quran teaches, etc. David Wood and Sam Sahud leading that. Let's go back to the top news of the day. Elizabeth Warren's session needs to be fired. She needs to be fired. Pocahontas Warren claiming that she's a Native American in order to get state-sponsored money and to extract more funds for herself, lying on a public record when she was in college. So this woman is a complete liar. She's a total white woman trying to use and exploit Native American peoples so that she can get money for scholarships. Total wicked, wicked, wicked liar. And she said Sessions need to be fired. We don't even need to look at that. It's so pathetic. Teen Vogue calls the march against Sharia hate speech. There you go, Teen Vogue. And all these stupid leftist lunatics standing with Muslims against Islamophobia and racism. By the way, Islam is not a race. It's not a race. It is an ideology and a political system where these kind of stupid women in the nations of Islam are forced to wear beekeeper suits and hoods over their head, lest they be punished by the culture and law of Sharia. And we've heard all the stupid arguments like, oh, there's so many different types of Sharia, and Sharia is not one kind of thing, and my jihad is lifting weights, or my jihad is going to the gym, or my jihad is... No. See, we know you're trying to play with semantics. We know you're trying to deliberately give disinformation to the public. The quotes in the Quran about the jihad, 40 in total, 36 are against violent subjugation of infidels. 36 of them. Only 4 talk about the greater jihad of internal jihad struggle, what they call the greater jihad. 36 of them refer to what they call the lesser jihad, but what unfortunately seems to be the majority of what these radicals are practicing. The reality of it is that not all Muslims even know their own faith. Most Muslims don't even know their own faith. They don't even know what is in their teaching. Just like most Christians don't read the Bible. Okay, they're believing what the imams are telling them. And of course, that is left-wing magazine Teen Vogue called ACT for America's nationwide march against Sharia protest hate speech, because that's all they can say about it, as they want to guilt shame people to not even look into the possibility that this civilization and culture may not be compatible with Christian values. The pluralism, the tolerance that you receive, the raising up of women. This is a product of Protestant Christianity. Why? Because a woman now was able to read the Bible and access the Word of God by Protestant Christianity, not state-run Catholic Christianity. Protestant Christianity, through the printing press and the production of the Bible, allowed even a woman, yes, because in Catholicism, women have less rights than men. It's Protestant Christianity that allowed the women to access the Bible themselves, and to be able to look into what God was saying. They were able to access it, not through a state-run hierarchy and or priestly class, but they were able to access it through the availability of information, through the printing press. Also on top news, woman wearing Moms Demand Action button, murdering President Trump on stage is just theater. That's just theater. When you are mocking killing, yes, I'm sure if people were mocking killing Obama in plays during the Obama administration, that would be just seen as theater. See how insane the lunatic left is? They're literally speaking out of 2 butt cheeks as they glorify themselves through art and theater, trying to pretend that they're the ones who can own that and dominate it, when of course they're now failing, and the New York Times is failing, and all their art is being exposed for what it is, pathetic art. And now there's a resurgence of real praise for real artists and real classical art and real type of art which is based on actual talent, and not this fake ideology of, oh, I can splatter some paint on a wall and call it art. Anybody can do that. Anybody can get a 5-year-old dare a 5-year-old child to put some hand paint on, then make handprints all over and call that art. But that's not what is classically known as art, which requires tons of training, tons of practice, tons of understanding of proportion, tons of understanding of color, variation, composition, etc. But of course you have these lunatics again saying killing the president is just theater. Of course, a theater which they are dying for and desperately wishing one of their psychopaths will do. Ninth Circuit denounces Donald Trump's refugee order, says it's not justified. Let them in. No hashtag the Muslim ban. Look at that. Let them in. Let them pour in, just like Europe. Oh, that really worked out well for Europe. Megyn Kelly faces boycott over Alex Jones interview. Look at her. Megyn Kelly has come under fire for a planned Father's Day interview with InfoWars founder Alex Jones on a new Sunday night NBC news program, with social media users calling for a boycott of the program's advertising and urging others to tune out the show when it airs later this month, because when Alex Jones was on the Joe Rogan show, it had like a record 54 million views or something like that. The highest ever in YouTube's history. And YouTube blocked it. They censored it. They did not allow it to appear on their playlist for the Joe Rogan podcast. And Joe Rogan was always a little skeptical of Alex Jones. I mean, they're friends, but he's always been, he's not as extreme, so to speak. But after this scenario, he was like, dang, man, these guys are really after me because I interviewed Alex Jones. This guy's really after you, Alex. And now, of course, that's only solidified their friendship and allowed Joe Rogan now to bring his millions and millions and millions and millions of listeners and millions of sort of fringe, more pop, modern, cult, tattooed audience to listen to Alex Jones say, man, this guy knows what we're talking about. And this guy was interviewed and was on a podcast with Joe Rogan, and YouTube blocked it, and all the top elites blocked it, and Google was blocking it, and it's ridiculous how they were trying to literally get rid of this so that people did not see it, which only allowed it to be seen more by more people and only allowed them to be exposed even more. The totalitarians are always exposed as they try to destroy the free spread of information that is, of course, against their political dominance. Megyn Kelly now being boycotted for interviewing Alex Jones. Here's a clip from it. But hopefully, so they're going to be airing this next Sunday.
Humanity's awakening, and it's moving against humanity on a planetary scale. The great global battle for the future of our species is being fought right now.
They call you the most paranoid man in America. Is that true?
Absolutely not. A paranoid person will be hiding out in their house, not venturing out in public. I go out there on the street and battle Black Lives Matter, the communists, point blank range.
We talked controversies and conspiracies. 9/11.
Now, 9/11 was an inside job. But when I say inside job, it means criminal elements in our government working with Saudi Arabia and others wanted to frame Iraq for it. Just a fact.
Sandy Hook.
Well, Sandy Hook's complex because I've had debates where we've devil's advocates said the whole story's true, and then I've had debates where I've said that none of it's true.
When you say parents faked their children's death, people get very angry.
Yeah, well, that's all I know. But they don't get angry about the 500,000 dead Iraqis from the sanctions, or they don't get angry about all the illegal.
That's a dodge.
No, it's not a dodge. The media never covers all the evil wars it's promoted, all the big things.
That doesn't excuse what you did and said about Newtown. You know it.
Here's the difference. I looked at all the angles of Newtown, and I made my statements long before the media even picked up on it. We didn't get any of the really important stuff.
What do you mean? We talked about all the important stuff.
Well, here's the big one they always make fun of me. You probably want to throw this in there. 30 years ago, they began creating animal-human hybrids. Isn't that the big story Megyn Kelly should be doing?
There you go. That will be coming up soon on June 18th on NBC. There you go. I want to see that. I want to see that interview. I want to see the whole thing. But, of course, Alex firing off with Megyn Kelly. I've seen him after he's done the interview and the camera, after they've done the shooting for that interview. They're editing it now for the purpose of making him look bad and as a conspiracy theorist. And Trump in the same boat, so to speak, because Megyn Kelly is simply an operative for the New World Order and political Satanism. And she's just a, prostitute, fake conservative that was on Fox News, but really revealed herself for being a complete whore rhino. I mean, just not even a regular rhino, a whore rhino. Horrifyingly terrible. And of course, her career collapsed after that, after she was exposed. And real conservatives realize that she's fake, and they don't want to see a fake blonde talking to them and lecturing to them about why they should support George Soros. Trump apprenticeship plan aimed at filling 6 million job vacancies. President Trump is due to announce an apprenticeship initiative on Wednesday that will aim to fill a gap between 6 million jobs currently available and American workers who can fill them, Labor Secretary Alex Acosta said Monday. JP Morgan Chase pulls ads from NBC News over Megyn Kelly interview with Alex Jones. That's good. Pull him, because she's going to get fired from NBC. That's even better. Good. Let her get fired. Fantastic. Pamela Geller, Sharia law is misogynistic, anti-Semitic, anti-infidel, anti-gay, and anti-free speech. And there's Linda Sarsour, the demonic political Satanist operative, who is a Sharia law supporter, who was supported by, quote, feminists, unprecedented. They're ridiculous. On Monday's Breitbart News Daily, Pamela Geller, president of the American Freedom Defense Initiative, discussed the weekend's anti-Sharia law marches with Sirius XM host Raheem Kassam. There you go. Also, Tony Pierre Warsi, UK should forget about integration, tackle Islamophobia instead. There's no point putting Muslims in Britain under scrutiny after 3 terror attacks in 3 months, according to Baroness Saida Warsi, who argued the UK should include Islamophobia in its definition of extremism. There you go. Always attacking the people who are raising the flag for concern about why people are getting murdered and killed for no reason under the guise of political correctness, but really under the Islamic ideology. Ivanka Trump surprised by the level of viciousness in Washington, D.C. Ivanka said that she was surprised by the level of viciousness in D.C. after her family moved to the city to join her father, President Donald Trump, in the White House. There she told Fox and Friends, and watch Abbas senior advisor says the Western Wall must be under Muslim control. There you go, starting to move on Jerusalem. Tel Aviv, the Western Wall should always remain under Muslim control, and we will not give a single millimeter to the Israelis. The Palestinian Authority Supreme Sharia Judge and Senior Advisor to Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas said on Friday, contradicting earlier remarks made by the Palestinian Authority's officials, who all acknowledge that the wall is one of Judaism's holy sites and as such should remain in Jewish hands. New York Times reports that Trump helping terrorists by refusing to talk gun control after the London knife attacks. Look, the London knife attacks happened, and the New York Times is saying that Trump is a helping terrorist because he won't talk gun control after these people were killed with knives. Shouldn't he be talking about knife control?
Ban control. Ban control, knife control.
Shouldn't he be talking about knife control? He's not talking about gun control because the guns weren't used, you dumb idiots. I mean, these people are so ridiculous. They're out to get you. They're out to destroy you. They're out to disarm you. They're out to make you weak so you can never fight against them, and they can rule over you and dictate your bathrooms and dictate transgender rules and dictate Obama's regulations and Obamacare on top of you and tell you that you've never made your business and Obamacare is free and all that craziness. They're out to control and dominate you, which is, thank God, the reason why people are starting to wake up. Gun sales have never been higher. Women are the fastest growing demographic in the firearms industry. And, of course, Chanukuk is coming. There you go. Norway to ban Muslim veil in all schools. Of course you should, because people shouldn't wear ninja masks inside school. The Norwegian government on Monday proposed to bill a ban to full-face Muslim veil in all schools, from nursery to university, saying it hinders communication between students and teachers. There you go. American Express distances itself from public theaters. Trump stabbing Julius Caesar. American Express issued a statement Monday saying it does not provide funding to nor condone a controversial Shakespeare in the Park production of Julius Caesar, in which the Trump-inspired main character is brutally stabbed to death on stage. After 2 of the production sponsors dropped their support this week. This, of course, is the rhetoric and the escalation that the left is pushing. Kill Trump, kill Trump, kill Trump. Assassinating him is just theater. Assassinating him is just Julius Caesar. It's fun, it's fun, it's fun. It's good, it's good, it's good. We're killing Hitler, etc., etc., etc. They are escalating to killing the president. That is a federal felony. They're escalating for war as the temperature gets hotter outside. Also, their rhetoric is getting hotter, trying to get these psychopaths to actually take it confrontational, can't take it violent, take it hot. If that happens, Trump has to shut them down and totally wipe them out. He's got to sick every law enforcement agency on them and completely wipe Antifa, George Soros, MoveOn.org, all of them out. They are domestic terrorists. He's got to wipe them out. And of course, he's got to ban Soros and the Rothschilds, etc. from the U.S., as other European countries have, like Hungary. Report, John McCain claims Barack Obama provided better American leadership than Donald Trump. Of course, he is a traitor to the American people, a complete Republican rhino who is trying to sell us out to his big oil friends, the Saudi Arabians, and of course, his pedophile network in the Saudi kingdom. There you go, folks. Crazy, crazy things happening this June 13th, Tuesday, 2017. We hope that you are awake, that you are separated from evil, and that you are standing in the dominion of the King of Kings, for his kingdom is coming. Thank you for joining us today on the King's Report. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp. Of course, Tim, with Tim. God bless, Godspeed, and may his kingdom come. See you soon.
You're pulling me closer and closer, holding my heart till the very end. Jesus, I'm found in your freedom. This is your love, this is your love. Oh, 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 oh. You're pulling me closer and closer, holding my heart till the very end. Jesus, I'm found in your freedom. This is your love, this is your love. Oh. Staring into your eyes makes my heart come alive. Suddenly brought to life when I met you.